The following thoughts and opinions we're going to discuss regarding this album are strictly of our own personal interests. We are not professional music reviewers. We encourage respectful discussion and friendly banter in each episode, but we do not condone and will not tolerate bullying or belligerence. You are welcome to take what we say regarding the albums we rate with a grain of salt.
Well, hey there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Rate the Record podcast, episode 75.
Yay! 3/4
75.
Of a dollar.
75 feeling alive, something. Hey, well, welcome.
Yay!
Psych, you thought I had something clever to say.
Yeah, well, I just keep repeating yay, so I ain't doing any better.
Well, your very bland, uncreative host for the day are Kris and
Savannah.
Yes, that is us, isn't it? That's always been us. 75 episodes in, we're still here. So, hey, welcome to the Rate the Record podcast. Thank you for joining us today and hanging out, listening to music, and giving your opinions on music as well. And we have quite the album to do that for today, but I'll tell you about all of that momentarily. At first, just want to welcome you again. And if you do like what you see or hear today, or even in past episodes, if you're here that you've been here before and everything like that, make sure you hit like, subscribe, comment, rate, share, follow. All of those things really help us build the musical community that you know we're trying to build. We want you to be a part of it. It's just as easy. All the things I just said take seconds, free to do, all good. So make sure you're doing that. Show us some love, please.
Yes, my family doesn't give me love, and I depend on it from strangers. So please go from strangers to friends, but love me. I don't know where I'm going with this.
You can always depend on the kindness of strangers. I'm just thinking of The Simpsons now. They did Streetcar Named Desire, and they made it into a really shitty musical. A stranger's just a friend you haven't met. Yeah, tell that to kids. Anyway,
we're gonna cut all that out, right?
Hell no. I don't even feel embarrassed enough to cut that up. But anyways, yes, that's what we do here on the show. That's what we want you to be a part of. So please do all that. But also, too, if you do like the show just enough to financially support us, there is that option, too, with Ko-fi.com/rate the record. You can be part of the RTR Club, $5 a month. We'll get you in there, and it'll get you a bunch of stuff like bonus content, a thank you thing, and we'll shout you out on the show and everything like that, social media, even if we have to. And if you have music that you want us to listen to and put somewhere in its own, Ko-fi RTR Club specific ranking, then we will do that for you. So consider that $5 a month. But also, there's also just the optional thing of giving any one-time donation that you want, as little or as much as you want. There is that. So if you're feeling generous and you have your deep pockets there, Ko-fi.com/rate the record.
And who can pass up getting their own hard art and hard work being placed in a B tier on a different platform? Right? Who wouldn't pay for that?
Yeah, it's not even public, so that way you don't have to go through the shame of knowing that you have a B tier, because no one else is going to know unless they're part of the RTR Club.
Exactly. It's just you laying on your bed staring at your ceiling going, what have I done with my life?
Or maybe it'll feel like some sort of badge of honor. It's like, I got B tiered.
Maybe. Oh, can we get t-shirts? Hell yeah.
Oh, I could have brought this up off camera, but I thought of merchandise that has to do with B tiering stuff. But yes, make sure you show us love everywhere. I just wanted to say that, and you can do that all at ratetherecord.ca. All of our social media links, all of our streaming links, Ko-fi.com. Our album giveaway, which unfortunately for April had to get cut off because the album that we're going to do, Mr. Bungle's California, just suddenly disappeared off shelves, off of warehouses, everything. Nobody has it. So
it was that good.
But we do have the one for May lined up, and that'll be announced a little later on in the month. But you can still sign up for the album giveaways. It is going to be there. And also, the album request link can be found at ratetherecord.ca. So you want us to listen to something on the show, which we actually got one coming up next week. Hint, nudge, nudge, wink. I should actually do the pantomime for it. All of that and more can be found at ratetherecord.ca. So please check it out and stick around there. Up our traffic on the website. Why not?
Yes, please. Just. Yeah, I have nothing to add. I'm trying.
Make it worth us buying the .ca domain that we have for the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, just like you mentioned The Simpsons, just get one of those drinking birds and just have it F5.
Why?
F5.
Oh, yeah,
F5. Right? So why not? Why not?
And then I'll have to find a specific way to have a pop-up come up so that way as soan as the bird keeps hitting F5 and refreshing, it's actually accepting something and agreeing to something. So we're just getting a lot more traffic and engagement, and then our SEO looks fantastic.
I like the way you think.
Yes, ripping people off. We like to do that all the time, don't we? That's just apparently what we do all the time on the show. But if you've been here before, you know that's actually not true. We don't rip anyone off, or at least we don't think we do. But you know that we're just a couple of idiots talking about music anyways. That's what we do here on the show. So welcome back. Thank you for being part of the episode today. But if you're new here, you're probably just very confused. That's fine. I mean, you're going to find out more as you go along anyways. Welcome to the show. We hope you enjoy your stay. We hope that you find a place here in the community, enjoy talking about music, enjoy talking to us, because again, we want you to be here. If you are new here, chances are you don't know what we do on the podcast. So each week, Savannah and I will choose an album, be it completely at random. Just one of us makes a choice and like we'll talk about it. Maybe it's celebrating some sort of 20, 25, 30, 35 year anniversary, something along the lines of that, something special, and it's like a monumental album. So we will take a look at those and requests. We've done plenty and we got plenty more coming. Regardless, we will take an album. We'll discuss it at length from front to back. Then we'll rank the songs and then we rate the record.
How long was it going to take for you to get there?
That's how long it usually takes. That's nothing new.
Oh my God. I was too impatient. I was like, oh, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it right on cue, everything. And then I'm like, oh no, he's saying more. Oh no. Oh no. Am I going to forget my cue?
That's literally as long as it usually is. I think you just need to take your Ritalin and sit down.
If only.
Okay. You're already sitting down. Go lay down then. Take your Ritalin and lay down.
just flip myself back, just lay on the floor and do the show that way.
Go back really hard and you'll put your head through the wall. You got like a hole there. You're like, oh fuck, and then your coma's just like, oh, nap time.
My God, the clickbait title on the YouTube video for that would be fantastic.
Savannah falls into a coma nap. I'll strategically use the word nap.
Yes, with quotes, please, for emphasis.
Alrighty then, moving on to the actual subject of today's episode, episode 75. I chose it so you know it's going to be good, because that's just like the trend on the show, right? Anyways, today is the Mars Volta and their 2008 album, The Bedlam and Goliath. Goliath is quite the term to use because, man, this album is indeed huge.
I had no idea what to expect, and to be quite honest, please don't at me. I thought the Mars Volta and Death from Above 1979 were the same. I think because there's two people in each. So I've not heard either before today, and I thought they were the same. So.
Which is funny because you said that to me off camera last week, and I immediately was like, what?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, I've never listened to either before today. So.
Well, at least one of them is Canadian. One of those bands are Canadian.
I'm assuming it's not this one.
No, absolutely not. Death from Above is from Toronto.
Ah, cool.
They're actually pretty close by. So yeah, we're doing the Mars Volta. I chose this one, so I guess I'll tell you a little bit about the band and the album itself. And they are an American band because you assumed one of them was from Canada. Well, Death from Above is, because the Mars Volta is an experimental prog rock band from El Paso, Texas. Ooh. This is like the second week in a row, or not in a row, but that we've done a Texas band. We did Krungbin the other week there.
Yeah.
They're from Texas. So is this band, El Paso, Texas.
Nice.
They originally formed in 2001 by the original founding members, Omar Rodriguez Lopez and Cedric Bixler Zavala. Oh, here I come with the fucking names that I can't pronounce properly.
Just wait till you get to the track listing.
Okay, I'm a little more comfortable with those, to be honest. Anyways, the two met while in their previous band At the Drive-In that formed in 1994. Cedric was a founding member of that band, and Omar joined in the summer of 1996. At the Drive-In would eventually break up in 2001 at the height of their popularity due to extensive touring, creative differences, and Omar and Cedric had a bit of a drug problem. Can you believe it?
After listening to this, I might.
From there, the two would start a small side project called De Facto, and that would eventually lead to them being the Mars Volta. Through the years, they would amass a devoted following and release notable works, including one of their most noted albums to date, Francis the Mute, in 2004. They would tour with the Red Hot Chili Peppers and even recorded their album, Deloused in the Comatorium, with Rick Rubin at the Mansion, a studio most notably home to artists such as the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Guns N' Roses, Jay-Z, Slipknot, System of a Down, and so many more.
Dang.
To kick off 2008, they released the subject of today's episode. This description is going to be a little longer for this album than usual because it is a concept album, and the story behind it is kind of fucking weird. The Bedlam and Goliath is the band's fourth studio album released January 29th, 2008, and was recorded at Ocean Way Recording in Hollywood, California, as well as Omar's home studio in Brooklyn, New York. Keep that part in mind because that's going to come back up in a second. The album was produced by Omar himself and released through Universal Motown and Gold Standard Laboratories. The album was added. This album added a plethora of musicians who have come and gone over the years, including Isaiah Ike Owens on keys, Juan Alderete on bass, Thomas Pridgeon on drums, Marcel Rodriguez Lopez on percussion and keys, Adrian Terrazas Gonzalez on woodwinds and percussion, Paul Hinoyo's doing the sound manipulation, and an appearance by Red Hot Chili Peppers guitarist John Frusciante.
Interesting.
Those names were a hell of a lot to get through too. So Goliath is mainly considered a concept album. The idea of this album came from sessions that the two, being Cedric and Omar, would have with an archaic Ouija board that they nicknamed the Soothsayer, which is actually a song on this album. Through communicating with it, it revealed names, stories, and demands through the entity that was three different people in one of them named Goliath, which... there you go, another subject that comes up on the album. As a result, the band felt that they were cursed. Many strange events at this time started happening, including the original drummer leaving the band mid-tour and causing financial issues, Cedric requiring surgery on his foot and it required him to relearn how to walk, audio tracks started randomly disappearing from hard drives, Omar's home studio was plagued with flooding and power outages through the entire production of the record, and the original audio engineer had a nervous breakdown and would leave because he was convinced that the band was trying to drive him and the audience crazy. Eventually,
are we sure it's not the drugs?
That is hard to determine at this point.
Okay.
Eventually, Omar destroyed the Soothsayer and buried it in two locations that he has sworn to never reveal the locations of in an attempt to end the curse completely. There was also an old poem attached to the Soothsayer when was originally purchased that spoke of love triangle between a woman, her daughter, and a man in Muslim society. So this was used in the lyrical themes of the album. And by the way, this was like an old Ouija board bought in an old market in Jerusalem. So you want to talk about curses, I mean, that's probably where a lot of that comes from. The album received generally favorable reviews, some outlets liking it more than others. It has a 66 on Metacritic, 85% on Absolute Punk, 4 to 5 by NME, Rolling Stone, a 4.5 out of 5 by our former good friends at Music. If you want to know what they're former, you have to go back and watch last week's episode. The album charted in many countries, notably number 6 in Canada, number 3 in Australia, and the United States. The album technically only had one single, but two if you count one as a USB bonus track that was kind of found. But the main single was Wax Simulacra.
It's going to be exciting.
I can say that perfectly, but as soon as I have to say it on the show, I screwed up. Wax Simulacra. Oh my God. Wax Simulacra. Simulacra, there you go. And Goliath with the USB single. I seriously, like, I can say all of these names, but now that I'm on camera, it's good. Like, like on microphone too. Like, I'm gonna butcher
People
every
are
single
watching me. Oh my God! It's stage fright. It's just me. It's fine. I can't do it either. I'm worse than you.
In case you are a superstitious listener, apparently I don't know much about like superstition and all those types of things and curses and everything like that, but apparently there's traps set for listeners in this album to kind of pass on the curse in order to get it off of them. So if you're superstitious, maybe go ahead and just skip this episode. That's fine. Or maybe just don't skip the episode. Just don't listen to the album. How about that? You can just listen to us talk about it.
You trapped me by making me listen to it before telling me this.
Exactly. It's like The Ring. I had to pass it on so that way I don't get killed by a girl in a well.
My life will fall apart. I'm not superstitious at all. So I do superstitious things as a mockery. So my life is already falling apart. How worse can it get?
Yeah, you sit under a ladder, opening an umbrella while a black cat circles the ladder. You're sitting on a broken mirror as well.
Yeah, and I'm like just tapping my feet on a crack in the sidewalk.
And your mom's sitting there like, oh, my back. Oh.
That's what you get for all this generational trauma. Oh, my back. Oh.
Take that. All right, well, instead of talking about trauma, we should probably start talking about music because that's kind of what the show is.
Oh, no, this album gave me trauma.
I was going to say that we need to do a therapy podcast.
Oh, my God, yes.
All right, well, let's get started on this album. Song number 1, Aberrincula.
Okay, so my first note is my first question. What the hell am I listening to? I had no idea what to expect other than, it's a lot. Okay, yeah, sure, it's a lot. I
warned you.
We also did the Buggles, and that was a lot. No, this was a lot. No,
the Buggles was not a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot to take in. It took me a while. How am I supposed to literally describe any of this? Most of my notes are like, hey, I like this sound at this time. this was great. It made me feel weird, which I do mention multiple times. Which, speaking of, there is a part that starts around 3 minutes 15. Totally could belly dance to that. It kind of slows down a little bit. It's just this entire album is made up of 12 mini roller coasters.
I was going to say, does this album get a danceable score out of you?
It does not, actually. There's one where I'm like moving my shoulders a little bit, but I couldn't dance to all 12, or I probably would have like broken a hip. Just the amount of changes and complete right turns that this takes.
Well, you just dance at the portions that you feel are danceable and then just take a breather from there. That's all.
I did. It was great.
Well, I kind of followed that note a little bit because I said it was a crazy way to start the album, but like it gives you a good idea of what to expect moving forward, though, for the most part.
Yes.
Like it's not all like hyper energy, but at the same time, this album is very energetic. I use that word more than once in this review, but like there's a lot going on here. And I do have some blanket notes too, because I mean, there's just a lot you could say that blankets this album.
Yes.
The fullness and depth of the production are fantastic. Like they're so good at utilizing everything they got going on. Like Omar is just really good at this. You always get something new upon multiple listens. And I even told you off camera, like I've been listening to this album for over a decade. And even through this lesson, I was like, oh, I've never noticed that before. That's crazy. So like you get things on multiple listens. So the replayability of this album, though exhausting, is, I think, worth it. The drums are fucking phenomenal throughout the entire album. Thomas Pridgen's an absolutely unbelievable drummer. And like, oh my God, like, he's probably up there as one of my favorites because this album is just incredible for it.
So like you said, it is like a wild start to the album. I definitely can tell I'm in for a ride. Like I said, I had no idea what to expect. So it's just sort of anything I'm receiving, I'm taking as a clue of what I'm going to be hearing. I right from the get-go, and this is my blanket statement, I definitely recommend being a little safe high while listening to this.
Safe.
Oh yeah, like safe enough that if someone came to your front door, you wouldn't think you're having an existential crisis.
Okay, I've got to step in here because I remember when we listened to Krungman a couple of weeks ago, you said I would not get high to this album, but you would get high to this one?
Yes.
Oh my God, this one's destroying. Yeah. Krungman's so chill, and like you're like, no, that's scary. This one though, oh, this is right. Get safe high for it.
I think it
whatever
was
the hell
more.
That means.
It was more of a. I didn't think of doing it and then listen to this. I just decided to listen to this while in that state. And I found from personal experience, it was so much easier to kind of discern the layers. Instead of, because I when I tried to listen to it the first time, it was like someone punched me, like someone turned the corner. I ran into them at the corner and they punched me in the face. And I was like, where did that come from? What happened? Why is my nose bleeding? And just, I felt like, kind of feel a little more relaxed. It was a little easier to kind of focus on it and sort of take it in little bite-sized pieces, which leads me to my next point. There are so many layers here, and it's not just this track. It is just the majority of them, that it's like one of those cakes that is made out of like crepes, where it's like crepe icing. And when you cut it, there's like 25 layers in it. That's how this entire album felt to me.
I'm aware of those cakes, but I've never had one.
Me neither. They don't look appetizing at all.
And why can't you just use the metaphor of like a lasagna? I would have understood that more.
Because the lasagna, I find you can't really see the layers in because it all just mushes.
Who
the fuck waits for it to cool before you cut it? You cut it while it is piping hot, then all of the noodles slide everywhere. The sauce never sets, and then you have to eat it out of a bowl, or else you're fucked.
I wait 15 minutes before cutting mine, so there you go.
How do you wait to eat lasagna? I'm just like, I'm sitting there like a dog in front of the oven, just waiting for it to finish.
I guess I have hobbies.
Yeah, well, my hobby is eating lasagna, so.
Well, fucking okay, Garfield, Jesus. All right, so I only got a couple more notes on this one too. I mean, and also we should note too, pretty much every song on this album is very long.
Oh my God, yes.
Because it's a prog rock album. What were you expecting?
It's epic. I wasn't expecting anything, but I guess 9-minute songs definitely weren't it either.
There's a couple of 9-minute songs. This one's just over 5.5. It's about 5:44. The entire last half of this track is a lot of fun. I think this is where you mentioned that you'd start belly dancing to or something like that, because this is where it kind of changes up a little bit. It's a fun groove between the bass and the drums, which actually happens a lot in this album. Like there's like great groove sections. And I'll mention them as they come up too. The guitar work on top is great, and like every layer feels like perfectly fit and appropriate. Like nothing feels like it's just added for the sake of adding shit.
Nothing's annoying.
Like everything is there enhancing the sound in some way, even if it's quiet in the background. Again, that's one of those things on multiple listens. You'll hear it like the 5th or 6th time you listen to it. You're like, oh, that's there. And it actually sounds kind of cool.
There is a sound coming up that I think I've really noticed it in about 3 different songs, that it's so demure, it's so in the background, but every time I hear it, I'm like, give me more of that. It sounds awesome. But because they don't do it often, it's not obnoxious or in your face, it makes me want more. So it does make me listen to it again and again. And they're tricking me already, and we're only on track 1.
Oh, they set traps and you're falling right into them. Look at that.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe you're cursed to listen to this album again. Oh no.
Well, I mean, I would.
But yeah, overall, like it's a fun, fantastic track, and it really kind of gets you going for like it gets you going and like shows you everything else to come. So it's exciting. I like it.
Yes. I do have one question for you though. Did you say the name of the song? Because I don't know how to. I didn't hear it.
Aberrincula.
Okay.
I said it right at the beginning. I always say all the song names.
Yeah, I didn't hear it, and I want to know how to pronounce all of these except for the next one. That one's easy, but I kept going and I was just gonna let you just
well, to be fair, that might happen a couple times where I think I know how it's pronounced. I might be pronouncing it wrong. Who knows? I guess a disclaimer, if you already haven't understood, we're not really good with other languages, so if we are butchering anything, we apologize. Yes. Again, go back to the Krungbin episode and watch us butcher that, or watch me butcher that at the very least. So if anything is mispronounced, apologize. I'm just going by the way I've kind of always known it.
I can do a crude French accent. That's it.
But speaking of the next song that you mentioned, and it's an easy enough title because it is song number 2, Metatron.
So it only took me 2 songs into the album for me to realize that listening to this is like learning a new language. You hear it the first time, you're like, that is nonsense, and I have no idea what's going on. But it's like the more you listen to it, the more you kind of pick up on certain things, and then you kind of piece it together. It's like the difference between listening to a song but starting out on the second beat, because the rest of the song is going to sound so off because you didn't hear it how it was supposed to be played. So yeah, it was hard for me. I think it took me maybe the 3rd whole album listen to go, oh, okay. Because I think I started to anticipate what was coming next. So it's a lot easier. It's like a drive to work. It like takes forever when you first start, but as you're getting familiar with your surroundings, you're like, oh, this drive took me 5 minutes. That's not that bad at all. I'm unsure about the high range vocals. Really? I know I love Rush. I love Geddy Lee. I like his vocals, but I think it's when they're very high,
like
constantly. Yeah. It's hard for me to like, I guess. I think it's just personal preference, but there's a couple songs I think closer to the end of the album where he sings in a sort of, I don't want to say lower register, more of a speaking register, and then goes up high, and it's more for accenting, and I like that. But when it's sort of a couple verses sung that way, I'm like, okay, you've sort of overstayed your welcome. I didn't really like it too much, but it doesn't happen quite often, just enough for me to mention.
I really do like it. It grew on me over time listening to these albums, and I can get it. Can be like, it is something that you kind of have to grow into, because falsettos aren't for everyone, especially when they're like very nasally. And like I think I've pretty much complained about that in the past with certain acts before, but this one, I don't know, because he's got a very Cedric's got a very strong voice. Mm-hmm. And like he's very good at controlling those high ranges too. So like I've always grown to appreciate that.
Yeah.
And there are a couple songs when he hits those high notes, and goddamn does he belt them out like with like absolute control. And we'll get there when we get there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I really like it. And This song is a great pickup from the last one too, because like it's just like a seamless transition. Just it makes it seem like it literally is part of the previous track. And again, being a concept album, like it's easy to kind of do that, where like one song kind of transitions into the other. It's kind of like listening to 2112, how the entire side is just like one song, but broken up to like what, 5 or something like that.
And before you know it, it's like flip over, and you're like, wait, what? I'm still waiting for track 2.
Another kind of blanket statement that I made for this one too. It's just talking about like the noisy background layers, and I think they're great at really keeping up the atmosphere of not only the song but the entire album. Mm-hmm. Like again, it's just something that if it wasn't there, I think the songs would feel more naked, and like it's something was missing. But like they really utilize noise well in this album throughout the background. Like it's not just blaring in your ears more often than not. Like it's kind of just there adding to the atmosphere, and I really like it.
There's a lot of that sort of atmospheric noise that makes me uncomfortable. And that's going to come up in a couple songs farther in, where it's like, it makes me feel things. And I resent the fact that other people make me feel things, but I do. And that's, I don't know, just side note, I don't know if on the YouTube video feed of this, if our names that we said on Zoom show, but mine says my personality will become this, because after that album, I'm like, I need more of that. whatever that was will make me a better person. I need more of this.
Like after this album, I don't think they ever reached the heights of Bedlam. Like, not that they were bad albums, but like, I don't know, to me, like this Mars Volta fans can be pretty divisive, because again, like Francis the Mutant, D-Louse are like fantastic albums, and I know people who personally call them their favorites, but Bedlam is my favorite out of the most Mars Volta collection. Like there's just, this one has like everything that they could ever experiment with and just threw it all into one album, and it actually worked.
Yeah.
It's like trying to make a cake and you don't know what ingredients you're throwing in, but it just so happens to be a really damn good cake.
And then you'll never, ever recreate it after.
You never counted out your portions. Yeah. You didn't really look at what you were adding. But it's just like, how did this turn out so good?
That's me.
I actually lost 5 pounds eating it. So I actually, my muscles grew. I lost 5 pounds of body fat. Like, this is amazing.
That's like Mario eating a red mushroom.
Something along the lines of that. So I'm pretty sure there were some mushrooms consumed during the making of this album.
I don't doubt that at all.
There's another thing I really like about this too, kind of talking about like the backgrounds and everything like that. Like there's these like humming synths, or maybe even background hummings in the verse. I thought that kept the song flowing really well too. I really like stuff like that. Again, just everything feels purposeful and like it should be there. So I really do like that. And the middle portion of this song has a bit of a slowdown in it for a little bit, and it's perfectly suited to like the progression of the song itself. It gives the track more emotional depth, and you'll find more emotional depth as you go through this album too. So this is the beginning of that, and I really like having presented this early.
The guitar solo at like 5 minutes 30, super pleasing, because the guitar is sort of meandering and doing its own thing, but the bass is like holding everything together. And it's not like, I don't know, it's not in competition with the guitar. It's not like, okay, you do that while I'm going to, take my time to do a bass solo underneath it. It was just simple, easy, pushed everything along. I really enjoyed that. Speaking of really enjoying it, I didn't think I would like it. I think I mentioned this maybe into the 4th or 5th song, where it's, I just didn't think I was going to like it, and I like it. It's cool. I guess not cool, because that's such a mom thing to say. It was hip and happening.
Hey, you're stepmom. That works enough.
Oh god, that's fucking terrifying to hear.
You've been one for a while. Come on now.
But the kids come over a week at a time. That's it. That's all I think about. But as soon as I hear stepmom, I think of the movie Stepmom. I'm like, oh god, no. I had one more note. I don't recall caring that this song was so long, because I spent so much time trying to understand it. So the more I'm listening to it and it's playing, and it's like, this song is just over 8 minutes. And there have been songs that we've done on this show by other artists, other albums, that hit 4 minutes. I'm like, could have stopped after 2. Don't care.
Yes, agree.
And now it's like 8 minutes, it ends, and I'm like, no, I wasn't done trying to decipher what you're offering me. I need another 4 minutes, please. And it's like, oh my God, like it's wild to me discovering my own preferences just by doing this and listening to things that I never thought I would actually listen to. So it was good.
I figured too that going into this album, because you've never heard it, like the song lengths would be very intimidating to you, because as you kind of just mentioned, like we've gone through songs that are shorter than this and they've been too long.
Yeah.
So like you're looking at like just over 8 minutes, 9.5 minutes. You're like, oh fuck. But then like you're starting to be like, oh, you know what?
Yeah. I think to be honest, I think there's only 2 songs on this album that I'm like, yeah, we could have cut out like maybe a verse or one more chorus, cut it down a little bit, kind of dragged, but 2 out of 12, it's a pretty good percentage.
Yeah, and I think there's only one song where I mentioned the length. Other than that, like I generally enjoy like this album. So
yeah, I agree.
The only other note I have to say is just like the final chorus too. I thought was really good because like everything is far more accented and has like a lot more character in it carrying out the song. The song actually has an ending too, so it's not like the end of Aberlincula that kind of like immediately transitioned over into this one, so it feels like a non-stop like 13-14 minute song. So like this one actually ends before the next one starts, so it actually ends like really well. Everything's really accented, just feels like a big epic at that point.
It's like a nice breather that you need for sure.
Yeah, because this album like it gets pretty hyper. All right, we'll move on to song number 3 now. This one might be one I butcher, but it's Ilyena. I've been saying Ilyena for a long time. I could be wrong, but we'll see.
I keep seeing the I and the L as an H, and my brain just keeps going, yeah, it's hyena. It's hyena. Like, that's not right at all.
Yeah, there's some sort of pronunciation that I'm not getting from like a different language here, then again, apologies.
Yep. Yeah, we are English through and through. The static and distortion at the beginning, it made me uncomfortable. This is the first in a line of songs that in some way make me unsettled or uncomfortable.
That's the point, though.
Yeah,
it's actually doing its job.
But it's not knowing that and then going, yeah, this is how I feel. And you're like, yeah, that's how you're supposed to feel. I'm like, oh, they tricked me. They manipulated me.
To be fair, even as a Mars Volta fan, like if you've listened to this for the first time, you're not going to completely understand the concept unless you've already done a deep read on it. So you're going to go in and feel very unsettled with this album. Yeah. But then as you learn more about it, you're like, oh, that's why this was the way it was. And it's all fucking noisy and weird distorted vocals. Like, and it starts to make more sense as it goes.
I don't think I want to know why. I think I just want to deal with the fact that I'm uncomfortable, because the uncomfortable feeling is kind of like watching a thriller movie where you kind of get that like anxiety in your chest, but it kind of feels like an adrenaline rush. So you're kind of down for it. You're like, this is the most alive I'm ever going to feel, but I know that I'm safe because I'm literally sitting in my living room and I am I will come to no harm, but I am going to turn on every single light on my way to the bedroom because I'm a little scared. And then that's how I felt listening to this.
And then when you turn off the lights, you have to do that sprint up the stairs.
Right? Oh my God. My dad's house, he didn't have a light switch for the lamp by the front door. So I would walk up the stairs, reach over, pull the string, turn the light on, run all the way upstairs, pull the string for that light, come halfway down the stairs, turn that light off, and go upstairs.
Wow, what a maze.
and that last run, 90% of the time I would trip on the stairs and think, this is it. This is how I die. At like 12 years old, I'm like, the ghosts are going to get me. I'm done now.
And as you're tumbling down the stairs, you see those large gray hands peer out of the darkness to grab you as you're falling.
Oh my God. Holy shit. Hell no. My dad lives in an old house and it sounds like there's marbles running through the attic. I was convinced it's haunted. It's terrifying.
Or maybe just mice.
I fucking that. If I'm scared of anything, it's that.
Mice are so cute.
Ew, no, they're so fast and they're gross. And
centipedes are fast and gross. Mice are cute.
Ew, I fucking hate mice. Anyways, going back to the static and distortion scaring the shit out of me. It kind of felt like listening to a ghost voice through a broken radio. And I'd like to think I hit the nail on the head with that observation.
I will say there's a note later on the album where I mentioned it sounds like the voice coming through a spirit box.
Yeah. And what's a spirit box?
A spirit, to break it down small, it's like a small radio, but it's specially designed to rapidly flick through as many stations as it can. And when you ask a spirit a question, a word will suddenly blare through the static just off of a random station. It's just like, how old are you? And then you'll say, old, like that kind of thing.
Really? Oh my God, that's the kind of terrifying I'm talking about. I'm intrigued and I want one, but I'm scared of it.
Do you want me here? Leave, like that kind of stuff. Like,
oh my God. And then you hear like a bang or something.
And considering the concept of the album, the idea of a spirit box definitely doesn't seem out of place. Oh. So I have a feeling that we're kind of maybe alluding to that.
Yeah.
I mean, if this album was mainly conceptualized through a Ouija board, then there's no way that's like out of the ballpark for this.
Yeah. Dang.
And by the way, I should mention, on that note, we don't really do lyrical breakdowns. If you're new here, you don't know that. We don't really do lyrical analysis, hence why we haven't been talking about it yet. And a lot of these lyrics are obviously very story driven. To be honest, though, it is extremely difficult more often than not to decipher Cedric's lyrics. Like, there's just some things I'm reading through the lyrics. I'm like, what the fuck am I reading? Like, I get what you're going for, but I don't know what any of this means.
Oh, I'm glad I didn't try.
But like with the idea of the album, you can kind of see where the songs are going, though, at the very least. I also mentioned that the opening minute was very unsettling. It's definitely like a feeling that pops up later on the album too. So it's like that spirit box type sound. I actually say spirit box like later in the album too. So okay. We'll hear that. This song is super groove oriented through the verses and everything like that. It sounds fantastic. And it's pretty much the entire song this time around. So this song is probably like, if this was like if I give my own dancey score, this one would be on top. This one's so damn good for it, but I don't dance.
Fuck yeah. I'm sure you move shoulders, bob your head. That's still dancing.
Well, yeah, because I stand up while reviewing albums. Like I have a desk that like lifts up, and so I stand while I'm reviewing it and writing. And I'll just kind of just like do this while I'm like this and stuff.
It counts as dancing if you're just moving your weight from one leg to the other, to the other, to the other.
If you tap your foot, it's considered a dance.
Oh, fuck.
It's extremely minimal.
Dang. That town in Footloose was fucked.
Yes, they were.
I've never seen it, so.
I have once, and it sucked.
Wow, you were really sure about that.
I've never been more sure of anything in my life. I know that I'm diabetic, but I'm more sure that Footloose sucks. It's too bad that the audio cut out your laughter. Savannah was indeed laughing, audio listeners.
Oh my God. Yeah, I actually was cackling, so yes. Jesus Fantastic. Fucking Christ.
More about Eliana though. Let's go.
Oh yeah. The ending, it took a little bit for me to not immediately hate it, only because the bulk of the song kind of ended and then kind of picked up again for a little nice little ending. Didn't hate that ending, but I did like where the bulk of the song originally ended. I thought that would be cool, but whatever. I am not in the band. I felt like this song kind of was like a amping up lead up to the next song because it left me feeling completely unfulfilled and unresolved. So it was just sort of, you're hanging there on that note and you're just waiting to come down on the next song. So it kind of feels like the next song is like, it's a necessity to listen to after this one, or else you're going to walk away with that. I don't know how to describe it other than it's just like this weird, unsettling feeling because nothing's been resolved at the end of the song.
Well, even in the end, they still do that spirit box thing again. So I mean,
that's why it's just
more unsettling.
So fucking weird. Oh my God. I just want to hide under a blanket and go, please don't hurt me.
I think there's a great use of hand drums in this throughout the entire track too. Like, I think that's more accented than it was in other songs so far. So I really like that. I think it gives more life to everything, although I don't know how much more life the song needs because it's so fucking lively. Everything on this album is very lively. I have one last note. It's a little longer because it has to do with the entire middle section. Mm. The entire middle section of the song never fails to give me chills because of just how fucking well it's done. Thomas Pridgeon just being an absolute menace on the fucking drums. Like, holy fucking shit. Like, I remember the first time I listened to that part, I was just like, no, we're going back. And I listened to it like 20 times. Even now, like years later, I still do that. I'm just like, no, back.
I gotta get my fill.
Oh God, it's so damn good. The dark atmosphere, it gets really dark, especially with those like humming vocals, like the ooh, too. Like that was like everything kind of gets dark. The instrumentals are really there for it too, and like but there's also like restraint on the vocals, very much calmer and a higher tone. But like he carries out the words a lot longer on top of this very hyper drum beat. I don't know. It's just an amazing arrangement and composition. It never gets old to me. Like that part of the song alone would just get a perfect score. But I mean, like the rest of the song's great, but that part alone is just like, how the fuck do you just write something like that? That is so damn good.
Did a tear come to your eye while you were writing this review?
Multiple like chills, probably. Yes.
Yeah.
I felt like a fucking porcupine, just like everything. Like it wasn't just goosebumps; it was like sharp. I couldn't even touch my fucking arms. It was so chilled.
Oh my god, that is definitely. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say about this album. That's one, not going to give anything away, or B, not going to give anything away. So, might as well move on.
Song by song, we're giving it away.
Yeah, well, that's true, but I don't want to be like, yeah, then I felt this way because fuck, who knows? The song that I'm talking about could be 7 songs from now. So,
I never mind giving like. I don't mind partially showing my cards while going through the album. Like even if I do spoil some things about it, like how I feel about it overall, like I don't care because I'm so like if it's that good to me and it excites me in the moment, like I want to share that just to kind of like lay everything on being like, listen, I'm not gonna wait till the end of the album to tell you this was fucking fantastic. This song just does it for me.
It is so hard for me not to do that just at the very beginning where you're like, okay, song 1. And I go, this album, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, we're focusing on this one song. I'm like, yeah, but what about all this stuff?
Meanwhile, you put your name as my personality will become this. So I mean, like,
well, I mean, it will.
Hint. All right, we'll move on to song number 4, though. Let's see if I can get this one. Wax Simulacra. There you go. I actually said it properly.
Simulacra. That is a word.
I actually I read up what it meant, but I don't remember what it means now. A lot of this has to do with like religious stuff too. Like obviously Metatron's like a word for God and stuff like that. Simulacra, I can't remember. It could be like an idol, I think. I was
thinking Megatron and then I was thinking Transformers. So I mean, was not on the same
Megatron is a god. I don't know.
Yeah. I have absolutely no idea. I know what I do know is that this song is the shortest thus far at only 2 minutes 30 seconds ish. It feels like it could be just like an interlude. To me, this is a good example of I listened to an 8-minute song and I was like, yeah, give me more. 2.5 minutes and it felt long and I don't know why. I don't know if it was just because the last couple songs set the precedent of, yeah, we're going to play section A, then section B, then section C, then A again, then C, then B. And it's just all over the place and there's a lot to follow. This one was a lot more simple and I use simple very loosely because it is not simple at all, but it was less jarring and less grab you by the shoulders and shake you violently. So it felt a little longer than 2.5 minutes solely because it wasn't as diverse. If that makes sense.
It's just so weird that you would consider it like feeling long. Like, I don't know. This song felt appropriate length to me. Because like it is way more subdued. It's like obviously far shorter, so like it's not presenting with like all these like really weird intersections to kind of travel through, like the other songs kind of give you. The drums in this one again just kind of continue on from the last one, like how they're so damn good and there's like really intense with the verses too, like especially with the constant double kicks too. Like everything else seems a little more subdued, but like the drums are just kind of still just going on like a furious pace, which I really like. Again, just I can only imagine them playing this album like front to back and like the drummer just being dead at the end of it because of like how intense it is.
Oh yeah. It's like you check up after every like 4 or 5 songs and it's a different drummer and you're like, what the fuck? When did this happen? And it's just a pile of bodies behind the drum kit.
Oh, I watched videos of Thomas Pridgeon playing this. As a matter of fact, I've seen the Mars Volta live, like only at MTV live though in Toronto. So they only played a few songs, including Goliath, which is the next song coming up. And so like I can confirm he does indeed, he fucking kills it. He's really good at it.
So they played it live. It wasn't like the album backing track.
This album had just come out. And yes, it was very much live. And I could probably say this mini story for the next song, but I'll just say like I just remember when they were playing Goliath. Obviously, there's a huge instrumental break in there, and I remember Cedric stepping into the crowd and then crawling on his belly through the crowd of people standing and like going nuts. So he could have been trampled to death, and he just slithers like a snake. I was up on a balcony though, because that place was jam packed because we didn't get there early enough. But like even being on the balcony and being able to look down at the crowd, once he slithered in, I didn't see him until he was back on stage. I didn't know where the fuck he went. I thought he like literally just vanished into thin air.
Dang. Probably slithering, grabbing ankles and scaring the shit out of everyone.
Probably bit people and left like little trinkets and everything, like cursed trinkets on people's like socks and shit like that.
Like a little elf.
Because this would have been at the time when he was trying to get rid of the curse, so he's like leaving all these like cursed little items in your sock and stuff like that. Yeah.
Weird.
Like these weird like little stone crosses or something like that in your ankles or something like that.
Yeah, my lord.
But yeah, I still like this. The good restraint versus overall, like it's still energetic but not like full blast, and that's brought out in the choruses, which has really fun instrumentation. I absolutely love it. The song packs a punch in its short runtime. I like it. It's a lot to unpack, and it gets a solid idea with like deadly precision. So I really like it.
In high school, I feel like I'd listen to stuff similar to this, but with like melodic screaming. Definitely was into that, not so much anymore. But I enjoyed the end and like the seemingly frantic wrap up. It was kind of like, oh shit, like we're reaching the end, just get it all done. But it wasn't like nothing that I've heard on this album sounded last minute. It was all like purposely and meticulously done. So if there was like a frantic wrap up, there's clearly a reason for it. And my last note, speaking of the organ, which I feel like I mentioned it a second time someplace. I find that the organ is placed so well in the mix that I can literally point to where in the room I hear it. And there's not much that I can do that too, because a lot of it is just sort of, I feel like I'm standing in the crowd and I'm watching them play. So they're in front of me. It's like I'm at a concert, whatever. Music's coming from everywhere. But there are certain little layers and instruments that they put in here that sometimes it's in like my rear right or it's in my side left. And I feel like even just sitting in my living room, if I look over, I'm just looking at this one person with their instrument going, sup, and they're playing their part. And I'm like, okay. And I feel fully immersed in it. And I feel like that adds to the sort of this changed me feeling listening to this, because I don't know, it just feels different. It could be similar to things that I've heard before, but it's different enough.
Yeah.
Wild. Some wild shit. Stop picking this stuff. I hate that your name's so close to the top of the list all the time. Every time I say something good about an album you pick, it kills me inside.
I can give a hint for season 5, saying there are albums I picked that I'm not 100% familiar with, and just like I want to listen to the whole thing. Like I know songs on the album, and I do like these songs, but I want to hear I want an excuse to listen to these albums. So season 5 is when I finally take your notes. Yay! And now season 5 you have to take my notes and pick your favorite albums, and I can C-tier them.
Yeah, but I've already picked so many 90s albums that are shit that I'm like, oh, this is so good. And you're like, yeah, no, it's not. I'm like, okay.
Well, then get good. Jesus.
I'm trying. That's why I'm taking your cue. I'm only here to learn from you.
4 seasons later, I don't know how much you've learned except for Michael Jackson. That's about it. There you go. All right. Let's move on. Song number 5, technically the title track of the album, Goliath.
Okay, so you said that this was a single, but like USB?
This was like found on USB drives that the band purposely kind of like leaked out. It's the same thing Nine Inch Nails did with Year Zero.
Yeah,
how like Survivalism was found on a USB drive in a bathroom, at a show in Europe.
Ow.
That's how that leaked onto the internet. They purposely did that, and so like I don't think they did like Mars Volta did that to that extent, but it was like, here's a USB. Oops, dropped it. Anyways, I gotta go.
Well, shit. I only have a couple of notes, so I'm just gonna blast right through them. Now, just speaking of how this song became a quote unquote single, I guess possible single. Okay, this song has a familiarity to it that I swear to God, I think I've heard this song before.
It's possible.
But yeah, it's like not enough that I'm like, oh, this sounds familiar, but it's like it hits that part of my brain that is like, this either sounds like something that you enjoy and listen to regularly already, or I've straight up heard this song. Is just so buried deep in myself, like my subconscious that I can't retrieve it. But when I hear it, it's kind of like my pupils dilate. I'm like, oh, I know this.
It's taking you somewhere.
And it's wild. And I like how bluesy it is. I can definitely get behind it. I think it's a good song to get someone new into the band. It's not too out there. It has a good melody to follow. And in the middle, last note in the middle, when the song sort of dipped and slowed down, every fucking time I heard the song, I zoned out. When it was just sort of the drums, it was kind of like, yeah. And it was like a nice sort of guitar in the back and everything.
Until Cedric yells, I'm starting to feel a miscarriage coming on.
Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, the song started again. And that's when I realized, oh, fuck, I've not been paying attention whatsoever. But it's totally fine because it's purposely trying to get you in that sort of like, I don't want to say lucid, but it kind of makes you feel, like it kind of makes me feel like I'm in an egg full of liquid and I'm just sort of floating around in it.
It's very hypnotic.
I'm an egg yolk. It makes me feel like an egg.
You're the worst part of the egg.
Yeah. Hey,
it's the unhealthiest. It's the unhealthiest part of the egg.
Yeah, but I am delicious and desirable.
Yeah, people just dip into you all the time. I don't know what that means, but
me neither.
Take that to mean what you will. I don't really have a meaning in my head when I said that.
But all in all, I like this song. I swear to God, I've heard it, but I'll never know. The brain works in weird ways. Yeah,
this song is I think it's pretty nuts though, because I mean, especially if we're talking about like the portions between like the verses and choruses, like there's like this like transitional little bit where it's like, again, drums are going nuts, but like the instrumentals are slower on top of it. There's a guitar solo shredding at the same time. It's just like, there's a lot to take in here. Oh, yeah. But the opening riff of this song, which kind of goes through the entire track, very energetic, heavy, and super catchy. Probably one of the most catchiest riffs on the entire album. So yes, I don't know where you would have heard it if you did. I don't ever recall this being on the radio, especially, well, at least in my area.
Definitely not mine.
I don't believe there's a video for it.
Yeah.
I don't even recall it being in like a game or anything, so I don't know. I think Mars Volta has been in Guitar Hero, one of the Guitar Hero games, maybe.
Yeah.
I can't even confirm that though, so I don't know. But I'm just trying to think of where you had heard it. But like, yeah, this is like obviously title track, so it's going to be like a little out there, more memorable. Again, with these grooves though, like it's just insane how fun the composition of this album is, and this song is like another really good testament to that. In my notes, it says that I've waited five songs to talk about Cedric's vocal range, but then again, we did just talk about it a little bit ago because you brought it up first.
Yes.
I have to mention the high notes he's hitting in this song. Like, holy dog shit, like, where does this come from besides squeezing your nuts together? Because, I mean, like, he hits it almost effortlessly, and it needs to be heard to be believed. Like, it just... Because it's not just like he's hitting a high falsetto, he's belting it, and that's not an easy thing to do. Like falsetto is like you're straining yourself, so you're just getting that note out to the best of your ability, but he's just fucking out there on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I got nothing other than that is right, and I like this song.
Right. Then that means I still have another couple of notes because I wrote quite a bit for it too.
Yeah, run with it.
You mentioned the organ on the last track. I think it was way more standout in this track, and I did like a lot to add to it. It's a very like prog type of cliche, but at the same time, who cares if it sounds good?
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever I hear a prog song and I hear organ, I just immediately think Deep Purple. Like that's always like my jump to.
I think Dream Theater only because of the wild keyboardness.
I think my first introduction to like organ and prog rock music was probably Highway Star by Deep Purple.
It was
a highway star. Nobody
There
gonna
was
take my
oh
girl.
my god, there was a song that started playing when you said that, like playing in my head, and then as soon as you started talking again, it was like poof.
Oh, I
And
thought you were trying to remember the song. That's why I started singing it.
Oh no, I was trying to think of the song that I'm like, oh, mine was this, and then I was like, fuck, it's gone now.
Was
I
it
was gonna
Iron
say,
Butterfly and fucking
I don't
Inagata Devita?
think so. I was gonna say Blue Oyster Cult, but then I'm trying to remember what like part, and I'm like, yeah, it's gone, and I don't even think it was Blue Oyster Cult anyways.
Just running through the discography in your head. I'm like, we have an album to review here.
Yeah, you're like, we're on the clock here. Come on.
The only other note I have is about the second half of this song. This song is 7 minutes 15 seconds. So when I say second half, I mean like it's its own song at this point. It's such an intense trip too. Holy shit! Like it's so loud, fast, and powerful every time you listen to it. It's like it does have that. You mentioned the dip. It does have that, but for the most part, it is super intense. And I like that it's so intense that in the vocal performance, you can hear Cedric just blowing out the microphone essentially. Like, I can imagine the solid bar of sound his vocals are producing in like a sound wave form. But I love how that adds to the raw intensity of the track though. So
Sorry.
I was gonna say I don't consider that bad production. I like how it's just so intense that kind of it kind of feels like punk in a way. Although this obviously isn't a punk album, but like it's just that energy of like who cares if something sounds messy? Like it's doing that because it's part of the moment. It's part of the emotion. This one just does it perfectly. I've always loved it.
I was gonna make a dumb joke, but I'm letting it go. Yes.
Because I got so passionate about it.
Well, yeah, I'm like I don't want to take it away from him, but I definitely agree with the when you're in the height of the emotion, it's like you can't polish that. You need to show that off.
You have to take away my moments because I'm an opportunist and find every opportunity to take away yours. So you have to strike back.
Yeah, I know, but it's like it's our branding now, so I mean it's totally fine. It's like
So just trash you like Kris Wynn. That's the brand.
Yeah, whatever. That's fine because like I just cry after. But like any of her promotional pictures, it's just going to be like those typical, really deep down they're friends, but on the surface they hate each other. So all our pictures are going to be us folding our arms with our backs together, looking like we completely loathe each other's presence.
It'll be that. I'll have my back to yours. We'll have the folded arms, but just over your face, I'll do the peace sign. So that way it kind of blocks you out a bit. I'm just like kind of giving a shit-eating grin. That's going to be the way I'd like that we really present that. And
as soon as the picture's taken, I donkey kick you in the ass. There you go.
And that part also gets captured. So then you see me motion blurred flying out of the frame.
Exactly.
That'll be used for separate promotional pieces.
Yeah, that's for personal use.
Yeah, that's just like your desktop background now. Like you're perfectly still with your leg kind of sticking up behind you and me motion blurred like half off screen.
And I just look at it every morning just to pump myself up and to give myself a little hype pep talk. It's you're better than him. You're better than him. See, you're better than him. And then we record the show and you're like, you're not better than me. And I go, okay.
I'm waiting for you to prove it.
Yeah, I won't.
As long as you think you can kick my ass, that's the only thing that matters.
I have platform Crocs. I'm a very soft girl.
Yeah, and so are my orthopedic slippers. So I mean, we're walking on very soft ground as it is.
Fucking nerd. Anyways,
I have leg problems. I have legitimate leg problems.
Oh, that's okay. I have back problems, but they're all my fault.
There you go.
Okay, next song.
Song number 6. Literally the shortest one on the album by 1 second. Tourniquet Man. Okay,
I only have a couple of points for this one.
Same.
I'm going to be completely honest. Didn't like it. The delay pedal immediately puts me into like 1987, and I can totally see this like being a sound alike to an Aussie song. If you don't hear it now, fucking listen to it. After hearing that, you can hear it.
I don't hear it, and I know both artists.
I definitely do. I do not like this in the context of this album. The vocal melody is pleasing, but as a whole, it's a pass for me. It is too ballady, don't like. And when did he turn from Aussie into an android? You get that vocal processing kind of robotic sort of creepiness again. But I can't look past that this sounds like Aussie off of Blizzard of Oz.
Okay, and I know that pretty well too.
I'm done now.
I heavy disagree with that. This sounds nothing like anything on Blizzard of Oz, not even remotely close.
Well, spoiler, it's my last song.
Don't listen to Savannah.
That's fine. Who listens to me anyways?
Anyone who listens to the show, they're forced to. So my points of the song. Yeah, it took half the album to get to a come down. So I mean, wonder why it's been up to this point. But again, this is kind of one of those things that are welcome though, because I mean, like with how intense things have been, like you do need like a slowdown. Like even if you don't like the song, you need something like this. I don't really think it's too ballady. Like I get where you're coming from on that. Like, but when I think ballad, I think of something like far more emotional.
Yeah, like Mama, I'm Coming Home, right?
That wasn't Blizzard of Oz, right? That was 10 or 15 years later, right?
I don't fucking know. I'm not an Ozzy fan.
Blizzard of Oz was like his first album, then No More Tears comes out like 12 years later.
Oh, maybe it was that one. I don't know. I don't listen to them.
Why would you even make that a point that now I have to pick on you?
Because listening to it reminded me of Ozzy. I don't know what to say.
My Mom and Coming Home is a good song, though.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the only ballad I can think of that Ozzy ever sang. I'm not a fan of Ozzy, okay?
You never heard Goodbye to Romance?
No, I've never heard that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no.
Anyways. I'm not talking about Ozzy. Maybe one day, but not now. I felt like this just had a very unsettling kind of somber feeling atmosphere. It really kind of grounds you back down to earth after like all the hyper pacing of the first half of the album. So like again, it's just good to have a track like this. Yeah, you have eerie, ghostly ending to the song too. Kind of adds that feeling of dread to the entire concept of the album. So I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I don't usually turn back to this one, but at the same time, I do appreciate it. So yeah, it's not bad.
I have nothing else compared to the other 11 songs. I liked this one the least. You might as well just put an X on it. Spoiler. I'm not even going to try and hide this one. So just it.
See, one of mine. Now you're taking my notes. Just show your cards. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, for this one, I will. But for the other 11, I am zip up the lips.
Well, I mean, we're not going to wait too much longer anyways, because now we're moving on to song number 8. Let's see if I get this one right. Agades. That it seems pretty straightforward, but I could be mispronouncing that.
You are mispronouncing it because it's Cavalettas.
Oh, I went to song number 8. God damn, it's now song number 7. Yes, Cavalettas. Yes,
yeah. So you wildly mispronounced this
because I was reading the wrong title. Doesn't count.
So speaking of songs making me feel things, we are doing a complete 180, and goddamn, this song made me feel things. Now, okay, so I'm going to skip this point. I'll bring that back up later. The constant fuzz. I mentioned this earlier in the review, but I'm just going to kind of double down on that. The constant fuzz and manipulation of the song makes me feel very uncomfortable, but in a way, thriller movies make you feel like someone took over. Now, I'm mentioning like someone coming through the radio again because I didn't know what a spirit box was, but I'm definitely seeing how that's pretty much what I was talking about. It's like someone took over the radio I'm listening to music on and says they're watching me or something. It's weird. It makes me feel so unsettled and like I have to watch my back in my own home. I fucking hate it, but it fills me with that adrenaline that I'm like, give me more of that. I need to feel alive.
I get where you're coming from with that, so I'm gonna jump forward to my last note that I actually wrote before I go over the first two because it ties into that. We're in the second half of the album now, and there are songs on this side that I would actually no. I'm gonna turn this into a question for you. Is there any song you don't even have to look at this album? Is there any song that you would consider scary? And don't be a smartass and say the Monster Mash. I will absolutely delete you from this channel. Like if you listen to, you're just like
in general.
Oh, God damn! Like that was just like you get those chills down your spine. It makes you feel uneasy. Like you kind of hinted at this already with this song. But I'm just like, has any song made you feel that way?
I don't think there are any, I don't really think there are any songs that I listen to on a regular basis now that make me feel like that. But when I do hear ones that do make me feel that way, I am in constant search of more of them. Where I don't know, it like gets me in a way that a movie would, but it's only like a 5-6 minute song.
Yeah.
But it like makes me feel as intense as like a 2-hour movie in a much shorter time, which is perfect for me because I am so impatient. But I don't think there are any that I listen to now, because a lot of the stuff I listen to now is very upbeat, and you'd listen to it on a nice sunny warm day. It's very popular and poppy.
Yeah, you're a Swiftie, so you don't listen to scary music.
Right? But like anything that kind of has I don't want to say a spiritual or a sort of paranormal vibe to it. Like if it's done, I don't know how to describe this other than if it's obvious and blatant, it's too corny, it's too cheesy for me to listen to. I'm like, okay, like I see that you're forcing me to feel this way. Mm-hmm. But the movie Poltergeist, where it's like it's the TV is on static and something happens. Day to day at home, I'll see the static and I'm like, that makes me uncomfortable. I don't like that. So listening to this whole like spirit box radio sort of vibe, it's like tuning in between stations. This puts that feeling in me. So then when I do that in real life, I'm like, now I feel uncomfortable with this normal, ordinary household object. I want to burn my house down because I'm so scared. Well, but I like it. I thrive on it. It's fucked, but it's awesome at the same time.
I only asked that because one of the points I was going to get into is in the second half of this album, there's a lot of points on this album where you get some pretty scary moments.
Yes, I've mentioned a couple coming up.
Like, I know we've had spirit box moments already, but like, it gets bigger. And yes, there's one particular song coming up a little later in the list that I legitimately think is the scariest song that I've listened to.
Yeah,
and I wonder. Yeah, it's probably the same one. I can almost promise you. But yeah, this one does have its own scary moment too. Like it's pretty intense as it is, but like it has its like quieter, creepier moments. And just like verbatim, I have it written here. If the portion that has the words "It's only a matter of folding time and space before I become your epidemic" is the chorus, I love how chaotic and unnerving it all is. Those lyrics alone are actually a little freaky to conceptualize.
Hey.
Like those, yeah, just those lyrics. It's only a matter of holding time and space before I become your epidemic. And like you hear that through a fucking Ouija board.
Yeah.
Imagine how terrifying that. Like if I was like doing a Ouija board and that's what it told me, I would like set that shit on fire and like do a ritual to cleanse myself.
See, I'm not superstitious or stuff like that.
Neither am I,
like,
but that would scare me.
Yeah, and it's like I don't think I would pay any mind to it, but I feel like subconsciously any little change or anything that happens in my life that isn't predictable or normal to me, I would think the Ouija board did it. I'm cursed. That's it. They fucked with me. My life is wild now. But it's like if I did that, I would be the one who's like scoffing at it, going, whatever, this is nothing. But then once I'm sitting at home alone, and if like something on my bed is moved just a little bit to the left of where I left it, I'm like, spirits. It's spirits. But in public, I'm like, nah, it's nothing. I'm cool, calm, and collected. But at home, nervous wreck.
I was gonna say, what would you do if you're laying in bed and you have your cat in the room, and then you look at your cat on the ground and it's just staring at the door, not
oh my
moving.
God. Okay, well, during the day, I'll just put my face next to her and go, what you looking at?
But like in the middle of the night, you wake up and your cat's just staring blankly at the door. Like upwards too, not just at the door, but like upwards, as if looking at someone.
I think, yeah, I don't know. It's hard because a lot of those things, I'm like, yeah, I can talk it away. It's just something. I don't know. It's like maybe it's a towel hanging on the door in the hallway. I'm like, yeah, whatever. But if I go look and there's nothing there, I'm like, okay, grabbing you both. We're going back to bed. I'm shutting the door. I'm locking the door. Nothing's getting to me. Oh my God. Yeah. It's sometimes you don't realize how easily rattled you are, but then listening to music and feeling the same way, you're like, what the fuck? Like it can do that? I hate that.
Music's powerful. Never doubt it. Never doubt it.
Oh my Lord! I didn't think it'd make me scared, but it makes me scared.
Again, there's a song coming up that does that. I'll just say my other two notes too, because it kind of it's off of the freaky stuff. The first note I just have is like, this one has kind of a punky start to it in the verse. Like it's like a very straightforward, just kind of like whatever, like almost eighth note type thing going on, and just. I can't say that I saw that much coming, considering how crazy the album has been so far. So I was like, oh, that's kind of neat, a neat start to the song. The first minute and a half kind of feels like it's on track, and then it changed up rather significantly from there. So like, I do like how they work alongside each other, because I know there's been songs by bands in the past where I've been like, oh, this sounds like two different songs. Why did not just make them two different songs? But there's something about this one where it actually kind of like works out.
Right? There's like no songs on this album, spoiler, that I even think, oh, they should have separated this. Even the one earlier on where it kind of has a slower and semi-different ending. I would have been fine if they ended the bulk of the song where they did, but having that ending didn't change the song. It didn't change it for the better, didn't change it for the worse. It was just, I took it as part of the song, part of the package. That's fine. And then sometimes I think, in comparison to other reviews that we've done rather, how some of my preferences and my reviews for those are so much different than right now, because I'm completely changing what I would normally say. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is fine. The long songs, the different parts, the different endings that don't mimic the intro. They're just completely different. I'm like, oh, that's fine. Whereas before I'm like, no, that's it. Burn it, cancel them. I hate this. So it's very crazy to me how certain things work. And I don't know if that's within me and my preferences or just the way that the song was crafted itself. That is just like top tier.
That's the curse getting you. That's it.
Oh my God. Maybe the curse is that I'm just going to spend all my money on the rest of their albums. And then they're like, perfect.
They're kind of different, especially the earlier works. They're kind of different from this one. So just like heads up, like this one kind of stands out to me more.
Crazier or more palatable?
The earlier ones felt a little more like proggy punky, I guess, because like they were coming off their At Your Drive-In days. Yeah. So like, especially with Francis Mute being their first one, but like, yeah, they're not bad albums by any means. I really like them, but I mean, just this one was probably the standout to me. And maybe other Mars Volta fans have other opinions on it, but like, I just felt this one was the standout. Like this one's like their magnum opus.
I do have a question about At the Drive-In. I always thought they were like a emo band, kind of like Sunny Day Real Estate. I always put them side by side. Am I incorrect?
To be honest, I'm not entirely familiar with At the Drive-In. Like I've heard a few songs. It was pretty loud and fast, some of the songs that I heard, because I have a friend who used to like really like around the time he kind of got me into Mars Volta like years ago. He was listening to At the Drive-In, and I just remember some fast, chaotic songs, and I do remember hearing Cedric's voice.
Okay.
So I'm not certain how to categorize them too much, but I do know that they have that like kind of like punkier edge to them.
Cool. I thought they were like slow emo because what I thought. So I was like, how the fuck did they get from that to all this wildness? Like they must have really been restricting themselves before, but now I'm kind of curious to see where they came from.
Cedric used to be kind of weird to me. He was still kind of weird in Mars Volta, but like they had very chaotic performances, but yet he would make fun of and like chastise the crowd for moshing.
Really?
There's literally a clip on YouTube of him just calling the crowd a bunch of sheep for moshing, and then he just made lamb sounds for like fucking like 2 minutes.
Oh my God.
It's like wild. Okay, you're making this like intense music that people are trying to get their emotions out on, and now you're making fun of them for like, what is your problem, buddy?
Yeah. And you probably went back going, yeah, I got him. And everyone's like, why is he such a dick?
Yeah, also I was gonna say he was young and like in the peak of his drug days, so I mean that could have something to do with it. Maybe it's actually his real opinion. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Hopefully he's nicer now.
He's older now, so yeah, I would assume so. Maybe he's matured up a little bit.
Well, that's good.
All right, let's move on to that song I already said before. So number 8, Agatas, and again, I hope I'm saying that properly.
I do just want to circle back and just throw out. I don't know if it was saxophone in the last song. down for it. It makes another appearance coming up.
Probably is because there's woodwinds in this album, so yes.
I didn't know if it was saxophone, if it was like a program keyboard or organ, or if it was woodwinds. So later on, I just refer to it as all three. But this definitely sounded like saxophone. I liked it, but I wanted to throw that in there because I definitely noticed, and I always notice the horns, whether for good or for bad.
Yeah, the horns in this album are fucking insane. They kind of emphasize like the mass chaos of the story.
It's so chaotic, but like you had mentioned before, that like no sort of hearing the beginning of the album, you kind of lay exception for certain things because you're like, oh, I walked into this hoarder house and everything is everywhere. Nothing's going to surprise me at this point. You literally open the gate with with the worst you could give me. Everything else is a welcome surprise. So I was down for it. But that was my last point for the last one. I didn't get in. And now we can move on.
Yes, now we'll move on to song number 8, Agades. And again, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'll just keep saying that over and over again.
Agades.
This one has like in the beginning, it has a mix of eerie instrumentals and what I consider to be digital confetti, because you just kind of hear this like trinkling digital noises all throughout the beginning. So I just call it digital confetti. I don't know. It's just the best way to describe it.
Kind of like that.
It's an interesting way to have the track start too. It's like one of the more subdued tracks until the chorus kicks in, because that's when the energy kind of comes back and everything like that. And the chorus has like a straightforward punch of like hard accented eighth notes, and it's like really works at catching your attention. So this one kind of like picks the energy. I mean, I shouldn't say picks the energy back up because the last track had it. But like this one's keeping your attention still.
I like the drums. They felt very relaxed and nonchalant, like he's drumming, but barely holding on to the drumsticks. Excuse me, very burpy. I like that. My second note just says, and I quote, "Dang, those vocals can really go there, eh?" Holy crap. This one I accepted. I was down for it. I felt like it matched very nicely. And because I had heard it earlier in the album, it wasn't as much of a shock. It was like, oh, this is what we're doing. I accept it. That's fine. Now, there's something in this that I know that I 100%, no shadow of a doubt, I've never heard this song, but there is something in it. There's so much in this that feels like I've heard it before. It feels familiar. It feels safe. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's guitar tone. I don't know if it's the scales or the notes. Just something feels homey and familiar, like it's something that I've listened to before or listened to in the past, because it isn't I listen to this now familiar. It's like I listened to this when I was 10 familiar. There's just something in it that is just like, it's like this shadow with its hands out going, come with me. You know who I am. And it like masks as my mother or something. And it's like, come on, Savannah. I'm like, oh, I trust you. Then as soon as I grab its hand, it encompasses me and I'm dead. It's freaky. I hate it, but I like it.
two things, and I'll go in order here. First off, maybe it feels familiar because there was a reviewer that I was reading about that said that this album, he rated it kind of low and said like it hits a lot of prog rock cliches.
Oh, maybe.
So maybe you're just recognizing patterns.
That might be it, because this one specifically just feels super familiar. Like I've heard it before, but I know guaranteed I've never heard it.
And my second point was going to be on what you just said there about like the whole freaky thing. It's like it's kind of beckoning me. It's like taking the form of my mother. I'm going to tell you a very, very short story, and it's considered one of the scariest short stories of all time. And I'm going to use you as the example in this story because it's just easier that way. So you're up in your bedroom, or just say you live at home with like your parents. Okay, let's just say like you live with your mom. Just say, well, let's just use this as the example. Anyways, you're up in your bedroom upstairs, and you're in your room, and you just hear your mom, Savannah, honey, can you come downstairs for a minute? Yeah. And so you're coming out of your room, like, what do you want? You don't hear anything for a bit. Savannah, can you come downstairs, please? Yeah. And then you stand at the top of the stairs. What? And then you hear a rustling in the closet next to you. So you look over. It's your mom. She's like, don't go down there. I heard it too.
Ew. See, my first clue was my mom asking me to come downstairs politely.
I'm talking about in the sense of a story.
Yeah, no, but that's like I thought
But
that
don't
I
go
would look
downstairs.
over.
I heard it too. That's fucking terrifying.
I thought I would look over and my mom would be bound and gagged in the closet or something, and
No,
that would.
she's hiding from it. That's what
Oh
she's
my
doing.
god, that's.
And it sounds exactly like your mom downstairs. So that's what makes it even fucking scarier.
I feel like I've seen a movie like that where it's like they can. I don't want to say shape shift. I don't even know what movie this is. Just something I think I've seen where it's like you look like me, but I have like your voice, and I'm like I can take
Like a
on the voice
skinwalker.
of it. Is that what it is? Yeah, something like that.
That's like a Native American thing. How it can like mimic animals or people and like their voices especially, but there's still something uncanny
Yeah.
about them.
And you like go close to where you hear the noise from. And you're like, oh, where's the blah blah blah? And then they talk and they have that voice, and you're like, I am out of here.
Yes, they lure you in with a familiar voice or sound.
Yeah. Oh my god! I just want to let you know I am not getting to sleep tonight.
This is turning out to be the scariest episode of Rate the Record.
Campfire stories.
And to think that our Halloween episode was Rage Against the Machine. So
Oh my god!
let's take this one for Halloween.
We should have. We should
Just do a horror
scary
story
one.
stream.
Oh my god! That's I am. I guess
We also
I'm
did
scared.
Thriller, Spooky, Scary. Ooh.
Right? Definitely not on Halloween
Hear
either.
the door slam. Okay, well, the only other thing I have to say about the song, I got like a couple more small points anyways.
Yeah.
The middle portions look a lot of fun too. There's a lot going on, feels really energetic and danceable. There you go. I used the word danceable.
Yeah.
The song, I definitely felt it. The ending feels like it was recorded from a spirit box there. I finally mentioned it, which would be very fitting given the theme of this album. So it took me 8 songs to say that. But because you kind of were like hinting at that earlier, that's why I like just started talking about it. But this is where like the end of this song really felt like it though, because it was very kind of staticky, noisy. And you definitely heard a voice come through, but like it was very like almost illegible. So like it feels like you're communicating with a spirit box at this point. And this is the whole Goliath entity that they were talking to through the board.
My last point just says what sounds like backmasking at the end made me feel weird.
As it should.
Like it didn't make me feel like I don't know. It was just this grand feeling of like unsettling, or it's like I need to shower. I feel so
It's one of those showers where you'll always feel dirty even when you're cleaning yourself.
Right.
It's like, must clean.
And then when you're in the shower, you feel like someone's watching you. So you're on like super hyper vigilant high alert.
And like, yeah, it's like one of those things out of the corner of your eye. You feel like you see a silhouette on the shower curtain, but like there's nothing in the bathroom.
I swear to God. Okay, now
Am I really trying to get to you?
this has been happening all day today, but just after recording this, it's probably going to happen even more. Now, I have a coat rack by my front door, but it's around a corner, so it's kind of off to the side. So it doesn't really join up with the front door too much. So every time I'm in the fucking kitchen and I look over, it feels like someone's standing there watching me. And then I look and I'm like, oh, it's a coat rack. And then I look back going, are you sure it's a coat rack? But I know that as soon as I go out there after recording this, I'm going to look at it and go, not today. You're not fucking with me today.
You're just in the kitchen. You're just like, is it a coat rack? Okay, good. And you can turn back in the kitchen. And then you hear a very light grinding on the ground. You're like, what?
Or it's like I look over and someone's standing there and the coat rack's completely gone with all my coats, everything. I'm like, I'm going to die now, aren't I? This is scary.
It's kind of like in my room. Like I'm a hockey and a football fan, and depending on the season, I'll have like my jersey hanging on this hook. So then I in my room, like I don't like sleep with lights on, but I have this power bar that kind of has like this like soft glow. So like I can sleep with it doesn't really bother me. Like it's kind of weak anyways, but the shirt hangs like right underneath it. So if I wake up in enough of a drowsy state and just see this thing just floating there like this near my bed, like not all the time, but once in a while it does get me, and my eyes jot up and like, ugh.
Is it under like a heating or air conditioning vent so it sort of moves on its own?
Yes. It's like it's literally right next to the opening of a vent. I have the vent shut, but like air still leaks through. And so yeah, that happens all the time.
Oh, I hate that. Oh my God, I hate that.
I have
so
to
much.
live in
it's like
I have to live in a constant state of fear, or else I'm not alive.
Yeah, it feels like we're doing like an Are You Afraid of the Dark Goosebumps episode.
There you go. On Kofi will review Are You Afraid of the Dark? Bring me the cedar wind. What an episode.
Sardo accent on the O. Oh my God.
Well, let's move on now. We're getting to the
Yes.
last quarter of the album here. So song number 9, Escapios.
Again, this entire song made me feel uneasy. I'm just going to repeat some of the points that I've already made just because there is a lump of songs that make me feel sort of the same way.
I'll interject real quick and say I agree because my first note is the song immediately felt like dread and confrontation rolled into one.
Right? Like nothing in this song didn't make me feel anxious. And like I said before, it was kind of like an adrenaline rush. So I was kind of not thriving. I was like sort of feeding off of it. But it made me uncomfortable, but in a way that I wasn't going to stop listening to it.
Yeah. I love the horn section after the vocal passages too, like especially in the verses. It has a very epic like building feel to it, like like that whole thing. It really packs on the anxiety. So yeah, there's nothing. This song is good, but there's nothing to feel good about because of stuff like this. Because it's just packing on these tense feelings where you're just like constantly feeling like you're like on the verge of having like a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, right. And look what it's done to me. Oh my God.
You're unhinged and we're not even done the album yet. We got 4 more to go.
Oh my God. My hinges are in the trash now. They're so far away. Ay.
I was going to make a joke about your job, but I'll leave that out. You know where I'm going.
Funny. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I figured you would, but I didn't want to get too deep into it, especially on the microphone here.
I appreciate that.
So I will say that the second verse has those weird broken vocals, like hidden in the background behind the main vocals. Like if you listen in the right headphone here, you can hear this like this choppy, broken, like backwards vocals, and it really goes back to that spirit box idea again because you're having these like random spurts of words coming out. So they really keep it consistently creepy in this part. It's like really adding to that atmosphere of like communicating with the dead or like this ancient ghost. So like,
I feel like they've amped it up going like the farther into the album, they're using it more and more and it's making the anxiety worse and worse. By now, I'm like fucking on edge.
Yeah, and it matched with what happens, I believe, in the middle too. That you have this very dreary and distorted middle portion too. So just kind of it adds on to everything. So I mean, like you've made it this far through the album, you have to keep going now, and you're trudging through some shit at this point, though.
Yeah, there's no turning back at all. And I don't know if this is just the millennial in me, but I really enjoyed the inclusion of what getting a mobile call or text sounded like through desktop speakers. As soon as I heard that, I was like, yeah, I know what that is. I like that. So it didn't make me feel scared. It made me feel pleasantly nostalgic.
So another funny short story has to do with the MTV Live that I saw Mars Volta at. So before they performed, like they did the interview on TV and the crowd's around, like me and my friend were up in the stands, like watching them do the interview. And during a commercial break, that sound started coming out through the speakers in the building. Like obviously this was the time when phones did that all the time, but
yeah.
Like, through MTV's studio equipment, it was coming out. So the fact that it ties in with the album, like a lot of people were just like, that's kind of, like we were laughing. Is like, oh, cell phones. Wait a minute, that happens in the album too.
Yeah,
it was just kind of
part of the curse. Is it following them?
Yeah. Meanwhile, fucking Cedric's all his hexes. He's just like, I'm waiting to hand these out.
Oh my God. Dang.
Good performance, though, I will say that much. The only other note that I have, the last third kind of really picks up the energy again, so at least it kind of gives you that. It feels like its own separate track, but once again, just another one that kind of blends in really well all together, so I got no complaints about it.
At about 3 minutes 40, the guitar soloing off to my right side, it felt like ocean waves. I will not elaborate, cannot elaborate. That is how I felt. And I am surprised that I'm still on board this far, even after just one track that I'm like, don't really like this. I was back on board immediately afterwards. It hasn't even lost me yet. And for some reason, that is incredibly surprising. So
that is because I've said it a billion times, you're notoriously difficult to please. And if I feel like if I lose you on an album, it's incredibly difficult to get you back. Even if I put out this very good, like, like compelling argument to get you back on track. It hasn't always worked. So I'm just like, fuck, like if I lose you on this one, and I had my fears like going into this, that like 3 songs you're going to tell me you're like, okay, I'm done. This one was like it's too long, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, oh, fuck, you didn't even try.
Yeah, no, honestly, listening to this felt like I was watching a movie. And I'm not a movie person solely because of the length. I just don't have the time or patience for that. But like listening to this, I felt like I was going through something. It was fucked.
Well,
it was fucked.
The vast majority of the lyrics go through that poem that came with the board about the man, the woman, and the daughter.
Yeah.
So a lot of the lyrics follow that. So you were being taken on a story throughout this entire thing, but also it has to do with the soothsayer itself and Goliath, this entity. So like you're going on many different directions in this story, but you're always being taken down one path or another.
But the fact that I wasn't aware of this story while listening to it. I didn't know about it. Like, I know that you had mentioned, oh, this is based on when they found a Ouija board. Okay, cool. So I'm listening to it, and even with, I think, the next song, one of my points is this a concept album? It feels like it. And I think I mentioned that twice, because when you get closer to the end of the album, you're like, fuck, this is starting to feel like it's something, you know?
Yeah, because even outside of lyrically, like the instrumentals feel like they're connected.
Yeah. Oh, totally. It's like one song is the rising action, one song is the climax, one is the resolution, and the resolution super resolution-y. Like it sounds perfect to close off the story. But I completely forgot where I was going with this. Yeah. As soon as I said concept album, I was done with having absolutely any idea what I was saying. Maybe it'll come back to me and I'll interrupt you.
Because you was just say, before that you knew it was a concept album, that you were starting to feel like everything was connected.
Oh, yeah. So like in my brain, in my ears, it felt like I felt like I was getting this story, but it's just that feeling. It's not like reading the words, hearing anything. It's just this feeling. I feel like I don't know. It's so hard to describe, but it just made me feel the things. And those things were big, and I feel them now. I don't know how else to describe that. I feel the things, and I hope that anybody else who is listening to this review or has listened to that album also feels things that they cannot describe, but they want more of those things because they're scary but fun. I don't know.
I hope that if there's indeed someone listening to this episode who, again, is superstitious and decided to forego listening to the album, but is here for the show.
Yeah.
I hope just us describing this stuff, even if you can understand it or not, like, I hope it is invoking like, I don't want you to be terrified, but at the same time, like you're safe in not knowing these quote unquote traps that the band is setting.
Yeah.
But I hope you're at least kind of like emotionally involved at this point of feeling like how we're feeling listening to this.
Yeah. Like I feel scared, but not in the way that I'm like, I need to run from this. It's kind of like, you know, when I don't really know how to. It's like how I assume people look at like car crashes, or why certain people watch NASCAR. It's like
what a scope there. Car crashes and watching NASCAR. Like, well, I get car crashes happen still.
Yeah, exactly. Car crashes are the common thing, but it's like it's some people, they'll look at it and they're like, "Oh, that's scary. There might be a dead body." There might be a dead body, and they're intrigued. It's terrifying, it's scary, it's out of the norm, but there's that little part of them that pushes them towards it rather than away, and that's where I'm at. So I hope that comes across a little better of an explanation than the I don't know how I feel the things.
I'm not going to pretend like my morbid curiosity hasn't led me to fucking like Live Leaks or Ogrish or something like that. Or Rotten.com.
Oh God.
I don't think any of those sites exist anymore.
I can't look at, like, just speaking of just gross ass shit. I can't look at stuff like that if it resembles a human being. like with flesh and skin and all that. Cannot do it. But I did come across a TikTok where someone was like literally innocent TikTok, because he's talking about like how humans' muscles work and stretching and shit like that, whatever. But he was showing the back of a cadaver and like lifted up a muscle and was like, oh, this muscle runs this way. And everyone in the comments is like, man, you could have given a trigger warning for showing a dead body and blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at it, and that was the minute that I realized if it looks like a human, it has too much of that emotional connection and makes me uncomfortable. That's where I want to run. But it like a skeleton, I'm like, ooh, what's under my skin? This is awesome.
Muscles are under your skin.
Yeah, and I can look at it. It's totally fine. But if it has like that, any sort of personality to it, it's freaky. So it's like, because this album is disconnected from a person, I'm not like, it's not about a real person that I know or have ever seen or anything. I'm far more likely to be pushed towards it than away from it. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Kofi, I hope you enjoyed that, because now we're back to the actual regular podcast. I had to send Savannah on a bit of a trip there, to anyone who's not part of Kofi.
Oh, don't do that. Don't listen to Kris ever again. Mental note
literally
to me.
Just listen to me.
Yeah, I know. Mental note. Ugh.
All right, well, we'll move on to song number 10, because that's what we got to do now. Song number 10, Ouroboros.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out how to say that. I'm so glad that you're the one saying the song titles.
Well, to be fair, they say that word in Resident Evil 5, the video game, and I played that more than once. So, Ouroboros. So yes, I know how to say it.
Excellent. It's kind of like the sound that big block in Super Mario makes when it hits the ground. Yeah, exactly. Now, this song specifically sounds like when you confront the antagonist in a musical, and this is his big solo. Now, it's not like campy like you'd assume a musical is. Trust me, it is definitely not. It's just, it seems like it's coming from the perspective of someone who is less than kind. It feels like it's coming from somebody who is going to kill you, but is going to take 6.5 minutes to sing about how he's going to kill you. And then at the end, it's inevitable that he's going to kill you.
I'm just looking up Ouroboros itself, because I know that I've like read on it before and I just forgot. But it's that symbol. It's like an ancient symbol of like the dragon or the snake eating its own tail, like a big sphere.
Okay.
That's an Ouroboros.
Interesting.
I know that I knew that too. I read that a long time ago. I just forgot about it.
Interesting.
Oh, sorry, now I'm getting all burpy.
Gross.
Well, to be fair, I've been muting myself every time I had to.
Fair.
But
I haven't.
Now.
Everyone needs to know how cool I am.
I think everyone needs to know about Ouroboros, so let's talk about the song.
Yes. Tell me your points.
Because Savannah's not cool. Anyways, the 16th note guitars that you hear, like the song gets pretty fast with that, and the drums and everything, like hand drums, match with the slower vocals too. It's like such a fantastic choice. I love the very fast pacing, but then the vocals kind of really ground everything. So really good compositional choice right in the beginning of this song.
Talking about the drums, percussion, holy shit. Okay. And I quote, dang, the percussion really hits, eh? Get it? Hits like percussion. But see, I even write my own jokes. But seriously, is there an octopus in the band? Like there is a
Thomas
point.
Bridgen.
There is a point that it literally sounds like there's two people doing it. Like that's wild.
Well, there's separate percussionists too, so I mean.
Oh, is there? Okay,
because
then everything
just on
once.
the drum set, like that's just Thomas Bridgen, but then there's a separate percussionist doing probably like accented things and just other things as well.
Okay, because hearing all of that at once is just like, it's overwhelming to me as a listener, because I just think, oh, there's one drummer, 2 hands, 2 feet, that's it. But when I hear so much, I'm like, I'm having this like, I don't know, this mental confusion of, I don't hear this often. I am confused. 2 people? That can't happen. And then like brain fried.
I've seen King Crimson live. They have 3 drummers.
Really? I've actually never seen them.
I saw them in September 2019. So just before the pandemic, was the last concert I went to before everything shut down. And it was like 8 members in the band and 3 of them are drummers.
Oh shit. So they're kind of like Slipknot then, yeah?
Except one of them wasn't riding a bunch of kegs. and stuff like that. Like they were all legitimately at drum sets, just doing different things.
That's wild. I'm gonna have to watch some clips of that. I didn't know that. That's sweet.
When we were there was no cameras allowed until the very end of the show, so I don't know how much you're going to find because they were strict. Like security roamed the crowds looking for cameras.
Dang. They're like, you'll get $20 for each camera you confiscate. They're like, okay, beelining it through. Dang.
My other notes, I don't have too many about this one either. Like it's a 6.5 minute song though. This one has one of the better, more singable choruses on the album. Definitely a lot more catchy, memorable. I love the vocal trade-off of the octave harmonies too. It's like, don't you ever, like that whole thing. I love that. This very creative usage of background vocals in this one. And out of all the lengthy tracks, so I will say I felt like this is the one that dragged a little bit. Though the slower ending portion I think sounds really good. I like how it sounded, but it could have like happened all a minute earlier.
My dragging song was 2 songs ago. I didn't feel it worth saying.
Because you said it about a 2.5 minute track as well earlier in the album.
Well, yeah, you also said I'm notoriously hard to please. So I mean, I really have to meet that mark. Now I mentioned this earlier, song or 2 ago. This is a song where I was like, okay, this is starting to sound like a concept album. I don't know why I waited until track 10 to be like, wow, this really feels cohesive. But this is definitely where it was like, okay, Solidify definitely sounds like they're going somewhere with this, and I am involuntarily on the ride. But by now I'm like, okay, you've got me. I won't leave. I'll stay for the rest. We'll see where this goes. And I mentioned before, again, saxophone, woodwind, organ, don't know what the fuck it is, peaks in around 5 minutes. It's quite obvious to hear if you hit 5 minutes. That sound fucking scratches my brain so goddamn good. It's like when you scratch a dog's ear and their leg starts shaking. I don't know what it is. I want
your
all
knee
of
starts
that.
bouncing.
Oh my God, is fantastic. And because they don't overdo it, I can't get sick of it. And if I want to hear more of it, I have to replay the song. Good play, guys.
That's like kind of what I said earlier about Ilyana with the middle bridge portion, the drums. Like I will go back a million times and listen to it. So I mean,
yeah. Oh hell yeah! You hear that one thing and you're just like, I need all of this, and you just replay that little bit until you get your fill, and you're just like, this is great. This is fantastic.
All right, we'll move on.
Thank you so much for choosing this album.
You say that every time I choose a good album.
I know, and I fucking resent you every goddamn time.
I'm sorry for introducing you to good taste.
No, you know what I don't like? I don't like how you shit on me all the time. You're all like, well, I'm going to bully her. And then you have fucking legs to stand on. Fuck you. No, I would rather you have shitty taste and be like, oh, Savannah, your taste is shitty. And I go, yeah, well, yours is shitty too. But you're like, hey, Savannah, your taste is shitty. And I go, yeah, well, shut up. As I look at the top 10 fucking ranked albums, I hate you so much.
Well, yes, that is referred to as a power move. Thank you for pointing it out.
I hate you.
That's the benefits of being a host or the host.
God, whatever.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's fine. It's all good. I love you too. So song number 11, the penultimate track, Soothsayer, which is the name of the board itself that they were using. They nicknamed it Soothsayer.
Like I thought I had everything figured out, and then they leave me feeling like this, like the same way that I came in, confused and afraid, because they are bringing me back to the what is happening at the end of the album, which is not bad. I just thought that maybe we had a mutual understanding of, okay, this is comfortable now. I've gotten, I kind of understand what's happening. And then they start pulling stuff at the end. And I'm like, now I just want to cry. I'm so scared.
This is the song I said earlier that I consider one of the scariest songs I've ever heard. This one's it. because like just the chorus alone, like I'll read my, because a lot of the scary parts I find are at the chorus itself, so I'll just read the note verbatim. I've always considered this to be one of the scarier songs I've heard. So much is unsettling about it, and the chorus alone really broadcasts that. The ghostly wailing guitars in the chorus are haunting with those gentle processed vocals, and just again, like I said with the previous vocal line that was kind of freaky, this one too, this deceit has no arms, bended will take what's yours. And apparently this song might have to do with a sacrifice, so those lyrics are kind of freaky.
That makes me very uncomfortable.
Because apparently there's also chanting at the end of the song too that you can kind of hear, that's like echoey and like distant, kind of creepy and ghostly. I can't remember. I read it what it meant because someone deciphered it. I can't remember, but apparently it could reflect a lot about what would be said during a sacrifice to a god, or the Metatron, if you will. So that's what makes it even freakier.
Ew. Now, just to completely contrast that point, I like the beginning strings and sitar. They're very nice. It sounds so good. The processed vocals, it kind of like makes them sound dreamy, like not like, oh my God, so dreamy, but like in this weird sort of surreal kind of sound. And it sounds like underwater, or sort of like, I don't know, muddled in a way. A+ for me, though, definitely adds to the fucking eeriness to it.
Well, that's what I was just saying earlier, those gentle processed vocals.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like I hate it, but again, I'm intrigued enough to stay on board. This felt like a drug trip in the desert, and ignore everything I've ever said about any other song. That's how I felt with this one. This one, it felt like I briefly went to their Wikipedia page and I saw that they were classified as like progressive rock and psychedelic rock. And I'm like, I'm not really getting too psychedelic from this. There are definite glimpses through this album. In this song in particular, I think it's this one or the next one. Yeah, this one and the next one, that I'm like, oh, I definitely get some glimpses of this psychedelic sort of sound. And I'm like, this feels like some sort of unhinged drug trip by yourself outside.
Yeah.
And it's wild. I don't know. It makes me feel the things.
Yeah, I would think that the atmosphere on the song alone just gives this song multiple points as it is. It's very dark and alluring, like especially in that intro too. Like it does I think this does a really good job at preparing to close out this whole story and album.
Yes. I would not change any of the track orientations. Is fucking perfect already.
No, because even Conjugal Burns, the song that's next, actually acts well as a good closer.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to that in a minute anyway. It's funny because usually this next note I have, usually when I make this note, it's usually a bad sign, but it actually isn't so much for this one. Because I mentioned how like repetitive this one can get. Especially in its 9-minute and 7-second runtime. But I said that I've always been so hypnotized by it though. And I'm always generally super intrigued on the ride that it takes me on. I'm super familiar with the song, but it never gets old. Like I will like, it's kind of like when you've watched a movie like 1,000 times, you know the plot back and forth, you know all the twists and the plot and everything, but yet every time like that jump scare happens or like that twist in the story happens, you're just like, oh, what? And you should have seen it coming, but it gets you every time. And that's what this one does to me, just like the kind of like weird journey this one takes you on. Like I'm always just strapped in, take me, I'm on this coaster, just take me. Oh yeah. But then the only other thing I mentioned was the distorted prayer at the end is really haunting too. It feels like really surreal and like adds that immersive feeling of dread that the album's giving off at this point. So, and if it indeed does have to do with some sort of sacrifice, then like that just adds even more to it. So like good on that one too.
My last 2 points. One of them is definitely a repeat. This has to be a concept album. I'm going to read it as I wrote it, and I think I only say it those 2 times. But the last point was just, I thought it was a choir at the end, and just whatever it was, chanting choir, it made me feel uncomfortable.
Well, yeah,
as it should.
So I guess a side note about the song, I did read about this. So while Omar was in Jerusalem, he actually started taking field recordings. So like at the beginning of the song, you can kind of hear like active street sounds. Like that kind of sounds like a Middle Eastern type thing. It's like it's in Jerusalem. So these are live recordings that he was taking, and so he very well probably also took recording inside of a church.
Oh,
I can't confirm that part, but that would make so much sense considering the rest of the field recordings you can hear in this song.
Yeah.
Which again adds the perfect. It makes you feel like you're on those streets. Like that's how it feels. And so yeah, the prayers at the end. That was just like in a church. I can't remember if they said that it was like using Middle Eastern prayer or something else, but it's something along the lines of that. But yeah, it's something like in him, through him, for him, in his holy something forever and ever is supposed to be what it's saying. I can't remember the entire line to it. And they're just kind of singing that in their thing. And then the way they say amen sounds like an unconcluded note, but like it's creepy that way. Amen. Like it's strange.
Oh, it's going to ruin the next time I listen to it because it's going to be like extra eerie now.
Good. It's supposed to be. Multiple listens, I tell you, you unlock something every single time.
Oh my God, right?
All right, let's finish this off then. We're on to the final song on the album, number 12, Conjugal Burns.
I don't have much for this one that I haven't already spewed through this entire album. Fuck, I'm probably repetitive as hell already. This definitely felt like a logical ending to the album. Like I said with the last song, definitely can hear glimpses of sort of a psychedelic feel. And that fucking organ horn thing again. God, I love that. It is so demure and it could go on completely unnoticed as it's used so sparingly. I've already said it. That is all that I have aside from just a skull emoji. That is how this song ends.
I'll kind of piggyback on something you were kind of hinting at there too. I did say that this feels like a collection of the entire album. That's not necessarily a bad thing because not only we're at the end, but it's a good reflection on everything that this story has given you. Yeah. So I do appreciate what the song does. And I did say that though Soothsayer could work as an ender, like this feels like the proper closer. This feels like, you know, the end to the story. So it is something to really appreciate going through. And it even has that cliche in the songs where I think one of the lyrics are, where am I now that the music has faded? And to hear a line like that as the last song, like there's something kind of cliche about that, but I don't care. It's fine. I'm fine with it.
Or it's like that person is like, they're the one that this like, I don't know, entity is after, and he's like, where am I after the music? And then once, like, as long as the music is playing, they get to stay alive. But then when the music ends, that like figure or entity, it just sort of takes that person away, and that's it. They're gone and dead now. You're
kind of in the realm of what other people are talking about for this song, because what people believe, like, I don't think there's like a 100% confirmed idea of what the song is really about, but a lot of people tend to believe this song was written by Cedric or Omar, written to the Soothsayer board, and they're pretty much saying, I'm going to destroy you and bury you before we're like married, like our souls are married, which is, that's not what you want out of a cursed Ouija board.
Yeah.
So, and like, this is them saying like, we're going to kill you and bury you now. And the board's responding like, don't do that. Please don't do that. I'll be your friend.
Yeah, you don't want to.
But yeah, the idea of like, where am I now that the music has faded? Like that probably works. Like, yeah, all this, you're buried. So there's no sound. You're buried. So like this board broken in two pieces in random locations in the fucking world that no one will probably ever find in a million years. This is going to be like fucking Jumanji when they get rid of the board at the end of the movie and then someone finds it in like a desert somewhere and then it's implied that it all starts up again. Like 500 years from now, someone's going to find half the board and then make it their life's work to find the other half.
Oh my God. And then they put it together and then Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson shows up.
Oh no, I was talking about the Robin Williams 1995 one. Fuck Dwayne Johnson.
So now does Robin Williams come back in original form or a zombie form?
Oh, no. He goes away and comes back all in the beginning of the movie. But he's like, he goes in as a kid. Yeah. And then like these two kids, the board was left in the house he played it in. Yeah. And then like years, like 2 or 3 decades later, these kids are like, oh, look, this cool game. And eventually he's unleashed from the board of that and he's an adult, like a jungle man at that point.
I just meant like if anybody finds the parts of these Ouija boards if Dwayne The Rock Johnson would just show up or Robin Williams. But if it's Robin Williams, if he would show up how he is now or how he was in the original Jumanji.
Yeah, he'll show up as 1995 Robin Williams.
Oh, okay. I was hoping zombie, but all right.
I don't want to make a joke about how he wouldn't have a head. I don't want to joke about Robin Williams' death.
Oh. We've reached the end of the episode.
The only other note I have about this song is I do like how this one matches the energy of the first song. So it feels like a true render because like it makes it feel more conclusive. It feels like the whole sandwich idea or storybook.
That's the whole concept thing. It resolves kinda, not really, but kinda.
No, it does, and it works really well that way. So with that said, now we can finally wrap up the album. This is my timer's going off the fucking rails, but this one's a long episode.
Oh yeah, and it's funny because I was like, "Oh, we're just gonna whip right through it." No, God, apparently there's a lot more to talk about than I thought.
And actually, to myself, before we even started recording, I thought like this is probably gonna be a long episode.
Yeah.
I just had a feeling, and here we are. But we're done talking about the album at the very least. So, hey, thank you very much for making it all the way to the end. If you truly did, we truly appreciate you hanging out. So let us know what you thought about the album if you did indeed listen to it, or if you didn't because like you're superstitious, but you have some ideas that you want to get off your chest. Now's the time to do it. Let us know down in the comments below wherever you're listening, because there's comment sections practically everywhere that you're listening. We're very curious to have a discussion, especially about a concept album like this fucking deep. And the only thing I'll say about this album before giving out the score is I thought this was like fun, energetic, intense, scary. Then this album makes me feel a bunch of things, and I love them all.
I actually wrote pretty much the same thing. I am scared and I need a hug. I found that the more I listened to this, the more it started to make sense. Maybe because I was learning what to expect. I warmed up to it, and it's like learning a new food or learning to like a new food. It's going to take exposure to really get there, but you have to be willing to keep going even through the discomfort, because you know you're going to get to a place where you're like, wow, I really appreciate this. I really like this. So
yes, that's right. Give yourself to Goliath. Do it.
Yeah, well, I like that song.
So yeah, remember, like, subscribe, comment, rate, share, follow, all those things if you like what you hear today. Really appreciate the love that we get for it. And if you love the Mars Volta and Bedlam Goliath, make sure you let us know that too. While you're doing that, we do have to move on to part 2 or 3 of the podcast. We have to actually rank these songs. Oh my God, this one was actually difficult for me to do, but I guess we'll get into that in a second because that's what we got to do. So above our heads, boom, graphic have changed. Our names, there are numbers. There's going to be more names, song names to be specific, because it is time to rank. There is no worst on this album, in my opinion.
Oh no,
favorite
one that I
can't even say,
but that's it.
Yeah, and you've already said Tourniquet Man. I know that was the obvious one. I can't even say favorite to least favorite. Favorite to not favorite, but still really damn good.
There is a very small range of scores. It would just happen to be like, I don't even know. There's literally just no method to how I ranked these ones. It was just, this is the score I gave it. This is where it laid. I'm happy with it. My number 12, I stand behind. My number 1, I stand behind. The rest of them, you might as well have just put them in a box, shook them up. That's where they lay. None of them are terrible. I'm just still so mad that I liked it. Ugh.
I'm very curious. We're gonna get one for sure. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, this could be a toss because we both like it so much, but like, how much do we like it to match?
Yeah, and there are times that just what you're looking for in something is different than mine. Or we're going to do another week where your number 5 is my number 4, your number 4 is my number 3, and we're just off by
that could
one
be today.
This whole time.
That's how I'm feeling
today. That's how I'm feeling.
Yeah, but I still feel confident about that one because we'll get started now because I know exactly what it is. Number 12, Tourniquet Man.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
Out of
all of them, I didn't like that one.
I like Tourniquet Man, but like out of everything on this album, that's probably the one that like falls the lowest to me. And that even only that hit a 7.5, so that's not exactly terrible either.
I think that this song would be good if it wasn't in the context of this album. If it was somewhere else or something else, sure, I'd be fine with it. But because it was surrounded with just everything else on the album, I was like, I could probably take this one off. See, and that would be fine.
I thought it fit the concept fine, and it's a nice breathing point in the album, so I thought this one was fine for it.
Well, we both put it at 12, so I mean, I don't know why we're talking it away.
Well, let's see what else we can match, if any at all. So number 11, Conjugal Burns.
Oh my God! Yes.
Cool.
That is awesome.
Oh, will the curse of Goliath actually make us match everything?
Oh my God, imagine that.
I'll be like, Dear Cedric and Omar, thank you for Bedlam and Goliath. It was a positive curse.
Trying to fix my seat while we do this here. There we go.
I don't know. Like, I think I want to say we'll keep matching, but I don't have confidence in anything ever. Number 10, Ouroboros.
No, number 10, Soothsayer. I am so disappointed that I have to pronounce these on my own now. God damn it.
Number 9, Agadas.
Number 9, Wax Simulacra.
You got it, just slowly.
Very slowly.
Number 8, Cavalettas.
Metatron.
Number 7, Asclepios. There you go.
Fucking hate this. Aberrancula.
That's fine.
I feel like an old lady where I'm like squinting trying to read. I can read it fine. Why am I squinting?
But that's my number. That's actually my number 6 is Aberrancula.
And mine is Ouroboros.
Ouroboros, complete global saturation.
Yes.
Sorry, Resident Evil quote. Number 5, Wax Simulacra.
Elena.
I believe Omar wrote with that title after Helen Mirren or something.
Oh.
No. There's an older actress that he wrote it after. He just did it like not the song about her, but just wrote the title because he likes her so much.
Oh, interesting.
And that's like her nickname or something. I can't remember the exact quote for that. Number 4, Metatron.
Asclepios.
No, there it is. I have to like look at the way I wrote it on my sheet previously just so I know how to write it. Number 3, Soothsayer.
Number 3, Agades. My God, I feel like I'm trying to speak for the first time.
Curious about this one. Number 2, Goliath.
Number 2, Cavalettas.
I thought that was gonna be your number 1.
No, number 1's Goliath.
Well, your number 1's Goliath. My number 1 is Ilyena. So there you go.
Yeah.
But we still got 2 out of it. Whatever.
Not too bad. It is very exciting when we get them back to back because it fills me with such hope that is immediately let down for the rest of the ranking.
But we had 2 that were like one off, so that's not bad. Then we had 2 that matched, so that's still pretty good. Considering you said you could just put all the songs into a box and shake it, we came up pretty close.
Much. Hell yeah.
Well, there you go. There's our song rankings. Not bad. Oh God, I'm a burpy and hiccupy now.
Gross.
We must be. You burp too. Shut up.
No.
That must mean we're getting close to the end of the podcast, so that means we actually have to do the feature presentation now. It's time to actually rate the record. So let's transition screens and see where this lands. Let's go. All right, album ranking screen. Here we are. Bada bing, bada boom. Wonderful to see it, isn't it? A lot of B tiers. We've had a few A tiers this season, but last week we had our first C tier since season 3. I know I said The Kills was the beginning of season 4. No, that was the beginning of season 3. So it actually been a while since we had a C tier album.
Oh shit!
That was crazy.
A and B tiers all the way.
Yeah, it's been just pretty consistent. Hence why we have so many fucking memes of doing B tier stuff.
I still stand behind the merch. Great idea.
I do like that too. We will see. But while we discuss merch off camera, we do have to decide what we're doing on camera right now, rating the record. Well, I mean, it seems like we both enjoyed this record, seemingly. Yes. I mean, I picked it and I've been praising it the whole time. You gave it a hell of a lot more praise than I thought you were going to. Like, I thought this would probably fall to like a 74, 75. You're like, I liked it, but I didn't know what to expect from you. Like, it's sometimes hard to anticipate. But now, this is where you can prove me wrong.
So now I understand that I'm going first because you picked the record, but I would like to see that if you thought that I was going to score it that before, now hearing what I thought about it, what do you think I will score it now?
83.25.
84.92, very close.
Not bad. Definitely.
Getting better at this.
Yeah, now you're not so hard to please, but now I say that and then like next album I choose, you're just like,
I'm picking shitty ones just because I actually want to hear them. I'm gonna have to change my approach. I need to break into the top 10. Well, aside from Michael Jackson, but fuck that. Michael Jackson, the highest selling.
You like that one though. You like that. You can't say fuck that.
Yeah. But like Michael Jackson is like, I know I'm gonna like that. Every fucking song is a single. But if I pick something like a 90s alternative, whatever, and you're like, I really love this, and then it hits the A tier, that's where the fucking prize comes in. Thriller, yeah, everyone likes that, whatever. But if you fucking put Dishwalla up there, that's where the prize is.
Never even heard of that, so it's hard to say. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a 90s alt rock album that I would A tier. I don't know. It's hard to say. I like it, but not enough.
Spin Doctors, Pocket Full of Kryptonite.
I'm gonna go ahead and say no. Anyways, your score was 84.92.
Yes, it was.
And so yeah, we both obviously praise this album, and you know that I like it. It's one of my highest rated albums. Not like close to Bungle though, but it's 86.66, which brings us probably to the second highest album on the chart. It's 85.79.
It is the highest one thus far.
Past Rush?
Rush is 85.25. This is a fucking monumental day.
Wow, less than 1%.
Right.
The Bedlam and Goliath takes the list. I thought Rush was like 86.
No, it's so what is it? It's 85.79. So it is just over 0.5 better than Rush. Yeah.
Like 0.54%.
0.54. Yep.
Yeah, we have a new number one.
That is fucked. And you wore your good luck Rush shirt too.
Fly by night. I was gonna wear my 2112 shirt today too. Although
that's the curse.
Behind me, kind of.
That's the curse. It told you not to. So then it weaseled up in a number one.
Yeah, in the curse
starts.
The curse of Goliath through the soothsayer itself has made the Bedlam Goliath by the Mars Volta to date our top album on Rate the Record. I didn't think this was going to happen for a long time. This happened at the end of season 3 when we broke that record. Now it's the end of season 4 almost, and we've broken the record again.
And it's funny because the top 4 is the Mars Volta, Rush, Tool, and Mr. Bungle. I'm starting to think we like prog.
You don't say.
There might be a trend.
Then again, look at my rating for fucking Steven Wilson.
That is true, but Porcupine Tree, regardless of what they say, they're a pop band, so he's a pop artist.
Proggy pop
to the masses.
Exactly. Well, there you have it then. I mean, Jesus, we have a top. I didn't anticipate coming into this episode this was going to, like, when we did 2112, I was like, there's a possibility this one can go pretty high. I didn't have that thought about this. I thought it was going to go into the A tier for sure, but not number one.
Well, when I saw my score, I was scrolling through my highest scores for other albums, and it's not even my highest score. It's not even like my top 3 highest score. So I was like, I don't really know where it's going to lie, but my God, like that slipped by the skin of its teeth. I swear.
I had 3 10s on my list, so that's what really boosted my score.
Fuck yeah. Oh my Lord. Mine are all over the place, but dang, 84, almost 85% just on my own. God damn. I don't know where else I thought it was going to go.
Well, I can tell that the album, again, top of the mountain, top of the list. Holy shit. Looking forward at our album list off the top of my head, I don't know what else is going to touch that. But then again, I say that all the time. Every time a new album hits at number one, it's like, nothing's going to top that. Nothing's going to top that. I honestly don't know that. We will see. I'll be pleasantly surprised one day.
Bruce Springsteen.
Not as long as I'm rating it.
Born to Run.
Listen, I won't D tier it or anything, but it's definitely not going to get like an A+ tier out of me.
Billy Joel.
That's going to get a D tier out of me. Fuck Billy Joel. Holy shit. You still rock and roll to me. Go to hell, old man. Fuck you, throwing rocks and glass houses, that's bullshit, whatever. Anyways, that's the end of the episode while Savannah's dying. That's the curse killing her right there. So thank you very much for joining us on today's episode of Rate the Record, where you got to witness a brand new number one. Oh, you're just dying over there. Your face is beat ass red. Your face is the same color as the flowers on the wall. Oh man, you are just gone.
I didn't expect so much vitriol. Hurts him.
I fucking hate. Go ahead, choose Billy Joel. I double dog dare you.
Oh my god! I don't have a choice for my birthday, so I might.
Like even Piano Man is like not even like that's like B- to me. That song is overdone and just leave me alone.
Oh, this is fantastic. This
folky ass loser, old man piece of shit. Get out of here.
That's how I feel about Bob Dylan.
He does it better. Anyways, we're not talking about either one of these old men. We're talking about these other men in the Mars Volta and how they topped our list. So if you made it part of the episode and you get to the laughing fits, apparently. We went through the episode scared, but now we're just laughing ourselves out. Thank you very much for joining us and making it this far to the episode. What did you think of this album? Where would you rank the songs? Where would you rate the record? Please let us know. Do you agree with us? Disagree with us? We're always very curious to hear this kind of stuff. Let us know your opinions down in the comments below of wherever you're watching and or listening, because there's comment sections practically everywhere. You can also let us know on our social medias at Rate the Record Podcast over on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I mean, we make posts over there too, so you can always let us know. All of that and more found at ratetherecord.ca, including the album request screen, album giveaway stuff, kofi.com/ratetherecord if you want to support the channel financially. Everything can be found at ratetherecord.ca. Yes, go there, do the things, and then we get to talk about your record, and hopefully we like it. I was going to say, hopefully we don't shit talk about it. I'm like, I don't want to set the precedent that that's all we do. Well, hey, to be fair, Krungbin a few weeks ago was the first request album to make the A tier. That is true, and I very much like that. So, and I mean, Tomahawk is top of the B tier. I mean, let's not talk about Weezer, though. Moving on. That was season what, 1? Season 2? Yeah, that was episode 9, season 1. Yes, that was way back when. Go watch our old content. It sucks. Oh my God, it's so bad. Anyways, that is the end of the show. So once again, thank you very much for joining us, hanging out with us today. But before we let you go, we do like to give you like a little sneak preview of what to expect next week. And I already kind of said that next week was going to be a final request of season 4. Anything else that comes will be in season 5. So if you want to request an album now, it'll likely end up in season 5 or at some point. So last request of season 4 coming up next week. It is a gothy Canadian band who formed in 1999 and actually originally gave their music away for free on Napster. So it's definitely not Metallica. Canadian band, Wide Mouth Mason. They didn't form in 1999. Silly. And did that one member pass away before 1999, or was he still around at that point? I thought that just one left, because I know the singer from Big Sugar plays with them now, but I don't know if he passed away. Well, one of the members, I think, passed away from an overdose or something like that. I could be very wrong, though. I don't know. I don't really know my Wide Mouth Mason history too much. I don't think in that band, but now I'm going to have to fall down that rabbit hole. But knowing it's not them, I'm completely disinterested. So it's a request. You have to feign interest a little bit. Okay, well, when I find out who it is, maybe I will. You can look at our Google Drive, but everyone else out there has to wait until next week. Maybe you know who it is, maybe you don't. That's fine. But until then, go listen to some awesome music like the Mars Volta. Listen to it. Smoke a little bit of weed while you're listening to it. Listen to it multiple times, unlock fucking everything you can out of it. Yes. So until then, go listen to some awesome music. We'll see you again next week. So take care, friends. Goodbye.